Welcome again, all. Another episode of Hashtag Fully Booked Meets. You're here with myself, Mace. French is en route and will be here shortly. An honourable mention to Pox, who can't be with us, currently away on business. Today we've got a very special guest. Before I introduce him, I'm going to list out some of the things I know you do. Historian, public speaker, researcher. There's about 5 things I've missed, but I'm leaving that gap for you, Mr. Darrel Blake.
Thank you
for joining us, Darrel.
Thank you.
So do you want to just finish off what I was about to mention? What else can be labelled next to your name?
Probably mentor, youth leader. I don't want to list out too many things, but those are the main things that I do on a day-to-day basis. Mainly.
So one of the reasons that I've kind of brought you onto the podcast is I went to an event maybe about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and Johnny Pitts, the author of Afro-European, was speaking at this event. So that's what first attracted me to the event. I heard about it through a mutual friend of ours. Mm-hmm. So I've gone down there. I didn't realise, well, I knew there'll be a guest panel, but I didn't realise who the guest panel would be. Anyway, so after Johnny Pitts, the author of Afro-European, has kind of finished his segment, there was a question and answer segment, the second part of the evening, and Darrel Blake was part of that panelist. And some of the questions and the responses I was receiving back, it intrigued me. And I said, I want to have a more in-depth conversation with yourself.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like, how can I find out more about this guy? So I think I briefly approached you. I know there was a lot of kind of people at the venue and everyone was kind of speaking to each other. But I briefly approached you, just kind of gave you a brief introduction to what we do. And you told me you had another event coming up. You had an event coming up and I could attend. So I researched that, and it was the Dole test, the reenactment of the Dole test. Attended that event, very, very popular. I'm assuming it was sold out. It was a sold out event, very popular, in a massive hall, completely packed. And it was a really, really good evening. So congratulate you on that, because I never got a chance to speak to you after about that. But what I want to know is that, as I kind of briefly mentioned before we went on air, what we kind of do on Fully Booked is we love to speak about the kind of power and influence that books can have on individuals, or how books can be used by individuals to motivate them to succeed, to drive more in life, in it, or any kind of roles and responsibilities they feel they have to themselves or a community or to a wider audience. I want to get Darrel Blake's story today. So literally, if you want to give a brief background into what you do, as in some of the things that I've listed out, but also how you've got there, how you've become the Darrel Blake you are today. I don't mind you going all the way back to childhood, where it starts. Yeah, and then we'll touch upon subjects that I know you've got little palms and hands in.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. Mm-hmm. I know this has been a long time coming since we met up at the Afro-European book club, and obviously we spoke briefly at the documentary premiere in London. What can I say, really? In a nutshell, my journey has been about empowering my people, empowering African people from the diaspora. Now, the reason for that is because through my childhood, and I grew up in Brixton, and I was kind of centered around community, centered around, that feeling of everybody's your mom, everybody's your dad. Okay. And within that came knowledge. Within that came responsibility and sense of like identity. You kind of knew who your friends were, but there was a sense of collectiveness when it came to, not even when it came to race, because there was a class system. So no matter what race you were, what faith you were, you was all the same. Mm-hmm. So I'll be kicking ball with some of my white friends, some of my Muslim friends, it didn't matter. It was one family. And what brought about that was the sense of, do you know what, we're in this together. As I grew up, I started to get knowledge through music. So it was my dad who put me on reggae music. Mm-hmm. And within reggae music came the knowledge of self, came the knowledge of I, came the knowledge of Blackness, came the knowledge of Marcus Garvey. Yeah. Through Black Uhuru, Bob Marley, through Peter Tosh, I started to get into who is this Marcus Garvey character. And then when I started to read upon Marcus Garvey, I was like, right, okay, this gentleman is powerful. Marcus Garvey is a gentleman born in the 1800s. He was born in Jamaica, but he was a Pan-Africanist. Pan-Africanist is basically someone who believes in the continent of Africa and those outside of Africa, and Africa's born within you. Kwame Nkrumah says, I am not African because I was born there. it's because Africa was born within me. So he gets the ideology from Marcus Garvey, who was basically about it's Africa for the Africans. Now, when I had that knowledge, I was very young, but I didn't know what to do with it, because it's like, okay, when I say young, I was like looking at about 11, 12, 13 at the time. It was my auntie, who is a Hebrew. I didn't even know black people could be Jewish back then. Like, I can't be honest. But I always used to think, like, why is she always dressed like that? Why is there no TV in her house? Anyway, so it was my auntie who put me on the idea of there's a higher power, there's a higher source. She made me fast. Now, my auntie, love her to bits. She was the one that she wouldn't like Bible bash or anything like that, but she would like try and drop in a little, so what are you doing with yourself? Have you prayed recently? I'm like, nah, I'm not even praying, you know, I'm on the roads doing certain things. And there was one day she said, I want you to fast. And it was called the Atonement. It was in November. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was so crazy because I said, you know what, let me do this fast and see what she's talking about. So I did this fast where it was like 7 days where I couldn't have certain food. So I can only eat like egg, bread, could drink water, could have grape juice. Yeah, there's certain things I couldn't have, but that was what I stuck to for like 7 days. After that fast, I can honestly say my life changed. Like, I remember it was an instant where my grandma was ill on my mum's side, and my grandma was from Coventry. We live in London, and my grandma was like not well. She was in hospital, and my auntie was up there. I remember my auntie was on the phone to my mum saying, "Oh, mum's kidneys have gone." Okay, cool. 5 minutes later, her liver's gone. Okay, so many things. And I was like, okay, grandma's gonna pass away. So I went into the garden, and I must have closed the door behind me, and I was like, this is like a little while after I did the fast, like a couple of weeks, and I was like, okay, so God, Jehovah, Isa, Buddha, I don't know who's up there, but if you could just spare my grandma for like a few months, because my mum's not financially good at the moment, let it just, you know, but if you got to take her, so be it, but if you could just hold out a little bit, yeah, because my auntie told me I could speak to you like you're one of my friends, so I'm sorry if you think I'm being rude. I was talking in the garden by myself, and I was 14 at the time.
Okay.
So,
and are you religious? Are you quite religious at this point in your life?
I'm just more spiritual.
Okay.
Right. So, there was silence. I was like, okay, give me a sign. Silence. Okay. So as I turned around to go into the house now, there's a next door's tree. It's a big tree. It was like going. It was going crazy. I was like, yeah, duppy, I'm out. I went into the house, yeah. Ran into the house. I sat down. I was like, oh my gosh. 10 minutes later, mum comes running down the stairs. Grandma's awake. I was like, whoa. Went to go and tell my auntie. Auntie was like, yeah, because God has these open seas on the planet, and it just takes for them to be watered in order for them to... But it takes that moment in time. It happens at different points in people's lives. Yeah. She goes, when you was living in Jamaica, you was an open seed. Your grandma did it. She just brought out so many things. I was like, wow. So I started to read more. Then I started to sit down with a few my Muslim brothers, and they was teaching me stuff. And then I went to the Rastas. They was giving me more lectures. And then I sat down with a couple of Buddhists, and they told me about the importance of silence. This is why a lot of Buddhists take the oath for silence, because there's so much power. And my brother says this: sound without focus is just noise. And that's why, like, when I go to the opera, I understand how powerful silence is, because silence gives you focus. Because if you knock out your ears, everything else enhances, like your all other senses. So when I started to sit down with different factions, sitting down with Kemetic priestesses, these ones that believe in, like, I don't used to like the term Egyptology, but they believe in Kemet, and they started showing me about spirituality, and then they talked about the chakras. And I was like, so every year, like every other year, I was sitting down with different people, like mentors and elders, and they was giving me the knowledge, making me read certain books. And this is from the age of 14, Bill.
Yeah, 14. So you're in high school about year 9, year 10.
Yeah.
And how do you converse with people your age group when you're thinking like this? And
the thing about, there's only one person I could speak to, and he was the guy that put me on. Like, he spooked me out, because he was like, "Have you heard of Illuminati?" I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" So he gave me a book and he said, read it. I read the first page.
Which book?
I couldn't.
On Illuminati.
Yeah. I think it was by what's his name? It's gonna bug me. It will come though. But he was not Dr. Phil Valentine. Something Alex. Anyway, he's got a podcast out at the moment. He's been writing books and he's always doing conspiracies and anyway.
Okay.
He gave me a book. I read the first page. I was like, nah, I'm putting it down. The same week, my brother said, I want you to come and see me. I was like, well, after school? He's like, yeah. Came to his house and then he was like, all right, I'm going to order some pizza. I'm going to put some documentaries on for you, but I want you to watch this one first. And when I come back, I want to talk about it. I was like, yeah, sure. Domino's Pizza, barbecue base. Nice, big brother. I love it. He goes, all right, I'm going to turn the light off. I'm like, yeah, go and do your thing. So I'm just eating a pizza in the dark. This documentary was about an hour and 45 minutes. Remember, I'm 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was just straight about Freemasons, Illuminati, reptiles, shapeshifters, It was just one after the other. I was like, what? Like, when he came back, I was sitting in the same position. I didn't even go to the toilet because I was scared. I was like, wow. He goes, what do you think? I was like, nah. No, what is that? Anyway, and then he's like, all right, you got to go home because you got school in the morning. I'm like, so you want me to go home by myself? It's like coming up to 10 o'clock.
You've just made me watch something that's just shifted my mind.
I didn't even know. I had no idea. And you want me to go home by myself. So I'm sitting on the train now thinking, oh, these people reptiles. Did they blink that way? Like, I was thinking, what? But then I'm very inquisitive. So I started to ask more questions to my brother. And then I said to my friend, I know about this. He goes, yeah. I was like, watch something. And then from there, my head just began like a sponge in water. So I'm not religious, but I like to take many things from different faith beliefs and different religions because I can apply it to my life. And I think if that's conducive, then cool. The main reason why I don't stick to religion is because many of them, especially the monotheistic ones, the basic ones, either have racism or sexism in there. I can't. I don't get it. I can't.
It doesn't agree with your moral.
This is it.
Compass.
If it's for you, cool. I mean, I know some amazing people. Like my friend, he's Sikh, Jaspreet from Birmingham. He's fantastic, such a cool guy, and he gives me knowledge on the Sikh faith, and I'm just like, wow, I'm blown away. So I can take stuff from there, and then someone who's Hindu, and then But yeah, I just have to have something that works for me, and that's just spirituality, just being divine and just loving the next person.
Okay, so you'd say growing up age of 14 and as you're getting older, you're reading a lot of kind of spiritual books, spiritual books. What can you define, or can you put your finger on one in particular that really changed your mindset or really kind of helped you to develop into
on spirituality or on spirituality? There's a book. So you put me on the spot now. By Queen Afua. I am so sorry for the alphabet. I totally forgot the title, but it's a blue book. You know, when you type Queen Afua as Afua as in AFUA, when you type Queen Afua into Amazon, you will see her book. I think it's called Divine something. That book there, phenomenal. Spirituality, Dr. Laila Africa as well. He's got a book for the life of me. Oh my gosh, it's just escaped my mind. It's a white book and it's got Africa. It's a green Africa on the front. You can't miss it. It's a fantastic book. It's thick. And then I think Robin Walker, When We Ruled, I think that book, it was not really spirituality, but it brings blackness into the presence of literally when we was on the continent doing great things, as opposed to as an alternative narrative to what we now understand about. So I think those three books were definitely something that.
That's on a spiritual level, and you were about to shift onto something else, a different subject, on another level.
So when it comes to like blackness and black history, then it changes,
right? And also, before you go on to that, and you mention any books that have influenced you in that sense, where I know you've kind of grown up and you've sought out knowledge from Rastafarians, not just from Rastafarians, from all sorts of different people and different who have different beliefs and religions. But tell me, what has kind of led you to want to study and learn more about kind of black history and kind of black empowerment and these kind of things?
What's led me? It's literally just the information alone, because when you're growing up and you're going to school and then let's say like Black History Month and you learn about slavery in like year 9. Black History Month year 10, slavery. Year 11, slavery. You go college, you might not even learn anything that has any blackness in it. But then it's Black History Month, so you probably see a couple of films on TV, but you might go to a few events, slavery. So when you hear that, you're like, slaves. Until you pick up a book and it's like, do you know what? Like, we built empires. What? We created music. What? We gave the world math, pi. We was the first people to actually write letters. I was like, what? Us? Huh? And because I'm inquisitive anyway, my passion is music and my passion is like philosophy, I'm like, what? We did this? So it made me want to read more because I saw myself. I saw a positive representation where it's not, okay, he's a black guy with a hood, so he's a criminal. It's like, no, he's someone who's capable of creating the internet. It's by a Nigerian guy. He's the one that created the perfect shoe so that we can all wear shoes on the street. He's also someone who, like, when you see the street sweepers, the machines, the guys that sit in the thing and they got the brushes, he's a guy that created that. You look at CCTV, that's by someone else. Then you got Jesse Russell, who created the phone. And then you've got Shirley Jackson, who created caller ID. And then you got the traffic light. Then you've got the gas mask. And then you look at all these people that create these things, you're like, we are some inventors. And where we invented these things are in spaces that predominantly do not like black people. So imagine you're being oppressed, you're in an institution that's pretty much racist, whether it's education, or it's occupational, or societal, and you're still managing to say, you know what, here's my contribution, I'm going to create something. Imagine creating a gas mask, right? And you create a gas mask, but the gas mask you created was not used for your people. So you create a gas mask, then there are racist people in Europe, like Germany, who then say, all right, well, we're going to have the gas mask, but we're going to use that to save the Aryan race, and everybody else who's not blonde hair, blue-eyed, you're going to die. And especially black people. So you create something that wasn't even used for your people.
For what it's meant.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, but it just goes to show, like you were saying earlier, my resilience earlier, before we started rolling, like it's the love that I see within ourselves, that despite all the things we faced, we're still loving people. Whether you're, no matter what faith you are, no matter what you've gone through in life, you are a loving person. It shows we're always acceptable, always like okay, we always want to get approval from, we're just loving people. And that's been our own detriment as well, seeking the other and trying to be, when people are trying to take from us, we're just willingly going. No matter if it's educational, whether it's something to do with music or film or culture. Like popular culture is based upon urbanization. It's based upon what happens in the streets and manifests out. That comes from struggle, and that comes from, let's do something for ourselves. There is something that we can be proud of, and let's just keep it within our community. And then you say, do you know what? We can offer it because someone's like, hey, can we come in? And we're like, yeah, sure, come in. We let them in, they take over, and then, we've been doing it for a time, and that's always been our detriment. If black people on a whole across the globe have created something like music, every genre of music there is, but we don't get credit for the music that's being created now, it's bad and it's institutionally racist, but we let it happen. We created dancehall, but most of the popular culture songs that happen today is based upon the same beat, rhythm of dancehall.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we're able to let people infiltrate or kind of divide and conquer, as they say, and kind of let our kind of inventiveness be masked over, and it's not kind of glorified, or it's not in the kind of public eye as much as it should be?
Because we don't own and control anything. That's what racism is. Racism is prejudice plus power. So when we're in a state where we're, okay, so I'm Rasta, you're Christian, I don't want to deal with you. You're Muslim, cool. You're Igbo, you're Twas, you're da-da-da-da-da. When you're all these things, that just creates the divide and conquer because you're too busy worrying about yourself. Other nations have got it right. There's something called the wage of whiteness that Malcolm X talks about, meaning like, even when he was saying this in Harlem, like back in the 60s, saying even the poorest white person in Harlem is glad he's not black, because there's something about being black.
It's a stigma,
right? So Black History Month is seen as, because there's nothing to glorify, because we don't have anything to show off. No one really wants to be black. I just do that generically. There are individuals obviously proud to be black, but as a whole, we're not proud to be black. Black History Month is like, yeah, we've got 31 days, happens to be the same month that we've got Halloween, cool. And there's this, okay, let's do this event, let's do that event, let's be proud to this, wear our dashikis and whatnot. But then when it gets to November, everybody's just quiet. There's nothing. It's like football. We become glory hunters. Like, imagine watching football for the first time and you see Messi play. It's like, I want to support Barcelona. He's on stuff. Like, that's what it is. But you got to stop having blackness treated like it's glory. It's not. You should be wearing it every day and be proud. But when there's no representation of positive outcomes, when there's no representation of people that have been through the struggle, have made it out, when there's no positive representation in places of power, then no one really wants to be black because we're scared. And because we don't build a community, we don't want to take the risk and stand out and be Malcolm X because we don't think anybody's going to care. And that's our own fault. Most of our issues are literally our own fault. No one, and that's the reason why there's no black power in the sense of like the civil rights movement, because no one's ready to die. I'm all for my community, but I know if I go out there and start speaking, there's probably going to be like five or six people that are going to be like, yeah, Darrel, and that's it. The rest of the people ain't going to do it.
We had. There's a few points. So we actually had a guest on the Fully Booked Meets previously, a guy called Kaya Kazi. And it was one of the things he mentioned. He said there's someone who he associates with who actually used to try and do these protests, and it was mainly against kind of knife crime. But because it affects the black community so much and so badly and so terribly, he was like, look, we need to do something about it. There's no one out there that's really doing much. That's really there's not much. We have to help ourselves, essentially, before anyone else wants to help us.
100%.
And I remember him saying that one of his friends, who's a popular DJ, will play at all clubs, have all these dances. People always rock up to the dances, sold out, sell-off events, whatever. He tried to put together some marches. He said, do you think those same people come out and support the marches on a wet Saturday afternoon? Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
So you're right in a sense in that it's almost like we're not sticking together, or people are not sticking together and really I'm willing to die for the cause. And it leads me on to an example that's going on at the moment. When we have riots in this country, for instance, like the most recent one is the Tottenham riots. That lasted 4 or 5 days, ended up turning into or the media portrayed it as a loot fest after a few days. Yeah. And they kind of dwindled out and everyone went back to their day-to-day, whatever. If you notice across the pond right now in Hong Kong, I don't know what month we're in, but there's non-stop protests about the legislation with what the Chinese government are trying to introduce for the people who are currently residing in Hong Kong. Something to do with extradition laws. There's a little bit more to it. I know one of the main things is the ability for the Chinese government to extradite those residents living in Hong Kong for certain crimes, and obviously they don't want to live under that government's rule, essentially. But that has been non-stop every single day for, I don't know, I couldn't tell you how many months now, because it's longer than days. But it just goes to show, if you really believe in a cause, if a people or a group really believe in the cause, you're right, you have to be willing to die for it. We can go all the way back to slavery, where people were just like, nah. Like, if everyone during slavery had just continued as they were, we would be in the same position now.
Oh, of course.
We'd be in the same position now.
Oh, 100%. Definitely. Going to what you're saying about Hong Kong, and it's about dynamics. When you're in Hong Kong, all right, when you watch it on the news, and you got the protests, and they protest, all right, so you got people from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Who are they protesting against?
From what I understand, the Chinese government.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all in all, they are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Hong Kong's on the cusp of China.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cool. Here, if we're writing against anybody else, we're writing against another race that we are scared of. They're writing against themselves. Like, why am I scared of you? Are you mad? Like,
okay.
If we're scared to even, there's something called acculturation. And the acculturation process that happens to us where we're in school or in work is where we adapt to another culture. We take it on. So, for example, you go into work, you see it a lot. A lot of women may have their hair a certain way because their work team or workforce are like, do you know what? Well, I don't think I feel comfortable with that afro, or you having your natural hair. So, yeah, cool. They will drop a little digs like, oh, so is that your hair, is it? And you're actually, let me just put in a wig because I can't be bothered. They're not every woman, but there are many cases where I've been told, you know what, I've had certain conversations and I just I'd rather just throw on my wig and just keep it moving, stops all the conversation. So there was a acculturation process where we adapt to someone else's culture. They don't adapt to black culture or African culture or whatever. We adapt to their culture because we're going into their spaces. So in the acculturation process is that you slowly become them. So as African people, we're very rhythmic. Everything's to do with timing. Everything's key. So key based in terms of tones and frequencies. when you laugh, like you see when you're with your friends, how do you laugh?
Wildly.
Right.
If something's really bust me up, then wildly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just naturally, it'll just whatever.
You might even tap your friend. You know, like you might.
Oh yeah.
Yo,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? And at the end of the laugh goes, whoo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or you might laugh, but you're laughing on the inside, but there's a little sound that comes out. You know that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You do that. Try and do that in a corporate space. No, you have to ha 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 and then stop. You adjust because if you're like, woo, hey, no, listen. If you do that, it's a wrap. They're gonna be like, oh, you're quite urban, you're quite ghetto. So we have to tuck in our natural Africanness just to please other people. So how are we gonna riot every single day against people that we have to conform to be with? It's crazy. It's never gonna happen. Not for now. I don't think the change that I want to see is gonna happen in my lifetime. That's why I do the early intervention and community work, because of the younger generation. I want them to learn from my parents' mistake, and because when my family was doing bits and pieces in terms of like rioting in the 80s, when you had the New Cross fire and stuff like that, you had the Black Power movement here, you had British Black Panthers here in the 70s, and even in the 60s. But what happened is the government saw that there was an uprising in black consciousness. Mixed race people call themselves black. Yeah. I mean, the term, even mixed race on a census only came out in 2000. Okay. 2010 when they perfected it. So before that, mixed race people...
Perfected, but anyway.
Well, yeah, loosely perfected, because people say I'm bi-Irish. Anyway, that's another story. So before that, mixed race people call themselves black. You see what I'm saying? So they knew where they were. All right, cool. So the government's like, all right, well, we need to change education because we want to change the curriculum where we want to put in a system where you have to go through this in order to get a job. Because a lot of our parents' generation, their hands were their skills. So that was their trade. They didn't have to go to college to get a job. Now it's like, all right, cool. Well, we want to change the system where you're going to need to get these qualifications in order to work here. Forget what you can do. You need these qualifications. So certain men were like, you know what? Let me just try and go to school and try and figure this out. School being education, be it college or whatever. Let me try and figure this out because I want a job. Some people say, no, I'm staying to the streets. They're like, okay, so you've got a separation. So certain people want to go out and riot and protest in the 80s, late 70s. Some people are like, nah, I need to hit these books. Cool. The music as well started to change. So even though it was revolutionary, I was saying like Black Uhuru, and you got Dennis Brown Revolution, like, yeah, cool. But then Love Is What came out, late 70s, early 80s, when it started to become more. So women started singing about heartache and pain and love. So when you've got certain guys looking to hit the books and try and figure it out and try to go study and maybe go to uni, then you've got music changing. So some women are saying, do you know what? I don't need men because I'm good. Men are trash. And then certain men are like, do you know what? No, we ain't trash. No, babes, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. So you've got certain men saying, yeah, do you know, we need to go down to Brixton Police Station because they lock up Leroy. And so certain men say, do you know what? And they look over and they see their woman there and they're just like, do you know what? Boy, we can't even, you know, we're just, all right, cool, yeah? All right, look more. Hang up the phone. And then they're going to go over to so the numbers start to dwindle. Then it's like council tax. That goes up. So it's like, all right, well, you need to work because you got to have a job if you want to be with me. Okay? So then it started to do. So they knew anybody can be a revolutionary when you're broke. When you're rich, that's when everything changes because you have
system's working for you as it is.
Exactly. So it starts to like collapse slowly as you get to like the late 80s, then the 90s happen. And then so on and so forth. So what happened was that we didn't set up a base to say, do you know what? You go to work and change the system from the inside. We will keep it organic and in the streets and try and change it. No, everybody just kind of just went dispersed and it just died out. So because they didn't show us what the mistake was, people that was born in the 80s, born in the 90s, we're just picking up from where they left off. And we have no clue about what we're doing. And then the younger generation that are in their teens, they have no idea because we haven't even figured it out. So we've got these young people running around not having a clue of what, like, so I work in schools and a lot of young people, they have, I said, what's your race? I don't know. Maybe I'm like, okay, what's your ethnicity? I don't know. What's your nationality? Don't know. What's your culture? Don't know. I'm like, bro, you're in year 11. What do you mean you don't know? So we have a lot of young people, especially from like working class background, have no sense of identity. Therefore, they have nothing to be proud of because we're not sitting down as as 30-year-olds, as 40-year-olds, we're not leaving anything behind. Say, you know what, come over here. This is the reason why you shouldn't be killing that person, is because they are you. That's your brother. But for them to understand, that's my brother, I'm not going to kill him, they have to understand that they're family. And if we're not giving them the tools to say, hey, you know, this is what you should be doing, think about this, then it's our fault. What's happening to young people is our fault. For us to change the narrative, we have to bring them to drink the water from the lake. But they're not going to be thirsty. Okay, well, if you put salt in the hay, they're going to be thirsty. You have to give them a purpose and give them a reason. When it comes to blackness, all right, so Birmingham City University has black studies degree, right? It's in its 3rd year now. It's the first time in Europe we've ever had a black studies degree.
Are you studying this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So black studies came out in America in 69. So it's like, hold on, we're 50 years behind America. Blackness as a whole is nothing without United States. If the United States don't do anything, then black people just don't know that they exist. They're in America, but they're still a bit ignorant because they think, oh, did black people in London drink tea with the Queen? I'm like, you know, we're in the belly of the beast, right? If it wasn't for England, you wouldn't be there, literally. Like, so blackness in a whole, in terms of sense of identity. I mean, you got this book here. This is one of my favorite books. It's called Miseducation of a Negro by Carter G. Woodson. Now, he talks about how the system is basically working and not working. It's working because it's doing its job, but it's not working because it doesn't basically represent black people. It doesn't represent African Americans, and the doctrine in there is very poisonous. It's very racist. So he's the one that also came out with Negro History Week, which was on February the 14th. So before he had Black History Month, he had Negro History Week, and I believe that was like 1921 when he came out with that. Because he's like, you know what, let's have a day where we just celebrate blackness. And then it became a week. Well, it became a day, then it became a week, and it became a whole month. So that's where we got idea of our Black History Month started in 1987. Because we was like, you know what, we need to have our own knowledge, we need to have our own information, and we need to teach ourselves, which was off the back of something called the Saturday School, which is a Pan-African school, which is an alternative learning space that pretty much teaches you everything that you can learn in school, but from a black perspective. And like literally those were the things that kind of got black people through Britain from before Windrush right up until, we could say now, but because of austerity, but they've closed down centres and there's not enough spaces for us to have Saturday schools, how young people are missing out on great things that used to be like prominent in the 80s and 90s. So blackness as a whole, it's because I'm currently writing a book as well called Blackness, Myth or Reality, with a question mark, meaning is it real or not, because I go through the historical definition or the etymology of blackness and what does it actually mean, and what are the connotations attached to blackness, whether you're black in Brazil or you're black in Europe or you're black in America or you're black in Asia. Like, what does it actually mean? Because there's a difference between being black in Brazil and being black in Europe.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you know who would have loved being here today? Pocker, because he's a man who's travelled a lot. Yeah. And if you would say, we'd have plenty of questions for you on that. So you touched on a couple of points actually. Oh, welcome French. Hey. What's happening? What's happening, French? Thanks for joining us. Yes. How you doing, French? How you doing, man? Yeah. Sorry. So you touched on a couple of points just then. I wanna kind of, when you breezed over a couple of points, I wanna touch back on. So the kind of Black history studies that you're currently involved with. You're in your 3rd year, did you say?
Yeah, Black studies. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to know a little bit more about what that entails, but also because you've started now by kind of going into this book. I want you brought a load of books with you. Yeah. I want you to kind of break down what these books mean to you and why you've brought them on the podcast.
All right, cool. So I started with this one. This is a gentleman named William Leo Hansberry. To be honest, if it wasn't for this gentleman, we probably wouldn't even have this book here, which is the Miseducation of a Negro. Reason being, this gentleman here is considered the father of black studies. Okay. He was the one that said, you know what? We need to put blackness in the curriculum. He's the father. He's the one that kind of pushed it. Very intelligent guy. I know Booker T. Washington was very intelligent, and you know he's a bit of a dodgy guy at times. But I think I would have to say William Leo Hansberry was the guy who kind of birthed this whole power of black studies being, it needs to be in the curriculum and it needs to be taught in people's houses as well as any other space you can do, because obviously church was a big thing back in these days, back in his time. So if you can put blackness in church, great. If you can put it in any other sort of kind of meeting or gathering, then good. So this gentleman, I don't want to say too much because I want people to read it. It's a phenomenal, like I didn't even know about this gentleman until like 2 years ago. Like,
first time I'm hearing of him. I've heard of Booker T. Washington. I've read that book, The Miseducation of the Negro, but William Lee Hansberry.
Yeah, and it's a short book. It's by another gentleman that I met, which is Kaba, Hiawatha, Kamene, and he used to be called Booker T. Coleman. You might have seen him on Hidden Colours, or if you've seen that, he's in that. He's in all five of them. Brilliant brother. He's the one that kind of showed me about the importance of like breathing and understanding your spirituality through the ends of. Because, for example, like this is what I do with my young people when I work in schools. Is like I say to them, could you go a whole day without eating food? They was like, yeah. I was like, could you go a whole day without drinking? They're like, yeah, I could. I was like, okay, could you go a whole day without breathing? They was like, no. So I go, what's important? More important, food, water, or air? And they say air. So I'm like, all right, so tell me about air then. It's the most important thing. Tell me about air. And they're like, you breathe. I'm like, okay, what else? And it's like, it's oxygen. I was like, okay, well, carbon dioxide, cool. I'm like, all right, well, tell me about it. How do you breathe then? They're like this, yeah, I'm breathing like. I'm like, that's inhale, exhale, but how do you breathe? And they're like, I don't know. So I do this exercise. I'll do it with you like right now, actually, real quickly. And this is how say ancient Egypt, but it's Kemet. This is what they used to teach as well, in terms of, because you've got a left and right brain, you've got a left and right heart, which is your left ventricle, right ventricle, you've got your lungs, everything you've got left and right. Yeah. So how you should be breathing exactly how a door is, just open, close, open, close. But we don't do that. We're just like every day, get intense. So this is what you need to do. If you get your right thumb, and pull it over your right nostril, okay, and I want you to breathe in and hold it, and then I'll show you what to do next. So you breathe in, hold it, pinch it, and then release. Then breathe out, breathe in. Pinch it, breathe out. We do it one more time. Breathe in. Pinch it, breathe out. And then actually one more time. Breathe in. Pinch it, breathe out. Now when it start to feel a bit clear. It's because you're breathing with the chambers within your lungs and within your heart and with your brain.
Head, bro.
I've got a cold. I'm coming off a cold, so yeah, it just felt a bit. That's like to take that extra.
You can feel the hairs in your nostril. Yeah. But if we breathe properly every day, if you do that like in the morning, in the night, it just clears you out. It's kind of like what Dr. Sebi talks about with mucus and stuff like that.
How long would you do that exercise for?
I'd say if you breathe in and breathe out, do it. I like to do it like 10 times. So like that. If you do it 10 times in the morning, in the night, you're good. It just keeps it clear, because especially for our young people, they don't know how to breathe. So I say to them, look, you tense up. And that's why you don't think, because your brain's starving. You need oxygen. So when a teacher goes, let's say Kieran, come here, like, gosh, like what? Like you're tensing again, what? And you're starting to get hot, and your brain's like, hello, I need air. And you're tensing, you're holding it in. So you're not thinking straight because you're being erratic. But if you said, do you know what? That's what chi is. That's what Bruce Lee talks about. It's chi, it's ka, it's the air, it's the essence of breathing.
As you're saying that, I'm just thinking about back in the day, because I used to get in trouble in school, and I always used to get told, breathe and count to 10. And just doing that, it does calm you down. And I guess that makes sense when you're not getting air to your brain. You're gonna get amped up, and you're gonna get, you know what I mean? Yeah. You stop listening, and all you see is red.
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Now breathing, like something like that. So that's what Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, that's what he taught me. He's a legend. So he actually wrote this book about Leo Hansberry, because I didn't know about I knew about black studies, but I didn't know he was the kingpin, which then birthed this. Because I'll relate it back to my studies, but I feel like in America there was only, I think black people were black for 40 years. So you had W.E. Du Bois. He was like, do you know what, we need black politics. Marcus Garvey was like, all right, well, we need black economics. Okay, so yeah, Booker T. Washington, and you could say Carter G. Woodson was like, okay, well, we need black education. And then you had Elijah Muhammad was like, well, we need black religion. Created the Nation of Islam. It was like every decade was like boom, 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 boom. Then the government was like, no, we need to get rid of these people, because this is, every decade there's something new and blackness is growing. Obviously you had Black Wall Street as well in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were just like blah 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 blah. It's just like, oh, can we just do something? And then the 50s it changed, and obviously you had the Tuskegee experiment with the syphilis thing, and they tried to wipe out black people. But Black Studies began in Cornell University in 1969 because they were pretty much, in a nutshell, they felt like they was excluded from the curriculum. And especially when it came to like science, you had lecturers being racist in science, saying black people came from monkeys and all this stuff, whilst you've got black students. Like, do you know what I mean? Especially if you're a black girl in a class like that, you are definitely going to feel a little bit like, oh, wait a minute. So there's like, no, we got to switch it up. So it started in 1969 in Cornell University, and then it developed and it grew. And then African studies came after that, and so on and so forth. But with Black Studies here in Birmingham City University by Professor Kehinde Andrews, he wanted to bring that elements, which basically is about the community component, with Black Studies being blackness across the African diaspora. And it's been an honour to even join that cause, because we touch on black history here in Britain, but we touch on black politics, we touch on feminism, we touch on the empowerment of music and how that played a role, because every music genre was revolutionary at some point, and how blackness was like, you know what, we're going to use this as a tool. That's how jazz started. Jazz was about going into like these blues parties and going into the underground and speaking about experiences and how we can overthrow the system, until it went mainstream, and then someone was like, yeah, we're going to pick it up. There's always one person that's going to bring it out. Do you know what I mean? We did the same thing with Jackie Robinson. We had obviously the Negro League, and then you had the mainstream league, and it was like, do you know what, Jackie Robinson, 42, Brooklyn Dodgers, cool. We're going to let him play in that league. But what happened? There was like, okay, well, we will let him play over here with us, but we want to let a couple of people over there. And then once that happened, it was over, because the Negro League started to die, because people was just like, oh, I want to join him. I want to play as well. Then you leave your community, you leave your ends, and then you go over there, and then you don't own and control anything. So you're still going to be called boy, you're still going to be called coon, you're still going to be called monkey, all these sort of things, and then you lose that value. Same with jazz. We let people in, cool, great, fantastic. It's for everyone. It's music, but it's about music from the soul. It's about struggle. Jazz came from blues music, which was about the struggle, but it was about how do I get through the system, as well as try and find myself. How do I be a man? Do you know what I mean? Because my woman's leaving me, I got to try and find this job, the police are beating on me. Do you know what I mean? That same basic riff, my wife left me, like masters after me, do you know what I mean? It came from spiritual songs that was in the plaza, and the struggle came from plaza. So every music came from struggle. You could even do garage, you could do.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could bring it up to
jungle.
Jungle
Jungle was underground, but jungle, obviously, because of the drum pattern. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That BPM you're hearing, that's drums. Doom, 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 doom. That's what you're hearing. Plus, on top of that, it was sampled from dancehall. Dancehall obviously came from reggae, ska, rocksteady, again, alternative music. Some of it's about love. So it all ties. And then grime is an extension of garage and jungle in terms of spitting, or toasting, which is a dancehall thing. And then that came from, because we couldn't get anything from East onto mainstream. So it's like, let's go on private station, let's do our own little thing. Again, it's cool. And then one person makes it through, it's like, okay. And other people start to, and then black people don't own grab. Because when you look at online streaming now, that's what makes people get paid. But it's white girls that stream and pay more money for music than anything else. When you go to a grime concert, you get everyone that goes there, which is cool. Music's for everyone. But in terms of money, it's actually white teenage girls that spend more money on Spotify and whatnot that makes everything flourish. So again, even when you've got a struggle music, if it's not for the people that you kind of try to appeal to, we're not going to thrive. So again, back to the community component I was saying earlier, if we don't collectively come together and support each other and want to take that risk, then we're just going to keep making the same mistake. We don't own anything. Like, in terms of black people as a whole, we don't own and control any genre of music. We don't. And when it comes to books, we write books, but we don't own major publishing houses. We don't own any major newspapers. The Voice is there, but no one really reads The Voice. You got South London Press, but no one really reads it like that. So we don't own any major newspapers. Nationalism had their one for time, but yeah, right. No offense, but it just Anyway, so we don't own any major record labels. We don't own any major stations, radio stations. We don't own any legit stations. We not really know. So we own a bag of pirate stations. We don't own any publishing houses to publish content. Okay, and also we don't own many like art galleries. So actually, we don't know any major art galleries.
I was going to say there's independent ones. You may
Definitely.
get a few independents.
But with the amount of money we spend on nonsense, we could easily just make an independent one, like massive, and say, do you know what? We're going to shove you. We're going to make you have a nice space somewhere in Soho or something like that. So when it comes to the young people, and we're saying to them, yeah, do you know what? You can do this, you can do that. And they turn around and say, but how though? We've got nowhere to go. They're right. We don't own and control anything. And for us to thrive, we have to, that's what it is. It's literally about power. We are too busy dealing with horizontal issues. We need to be dealing with vertical issues. And Dr. Claude Anderson talks about in his book called Powernomics. He talks about, like, we're dealing with issues like saying, all right, well, you're from this area, I'm from that area, you're more bougie because you live over there, I'm more hood because I live over here. Okay, cool. Well, you're a woman, I'm a man. Okay, those are the issues. You're this vertical issues when it comes to us as a collective. And we don't deal with things as us as a collective because there's so much of a divide. So much of a divide. And they've done a great job. When I say they, I'm talking about the powers that be, but the oppressors have done a great job by putting these little intricate things to make us face each other. Going back to 1712 when you had William Lynch, when they lynched him, where people have argued to say he didn't exist, but his principles still stand when it comes to old versus young, young versus old, man versus woman, woman versus man, light skin versus dark skin versus light skin, It all plays into part now. 77% of Nigerian women bleach their skin. 40% of Indian women bleach their skin because of the insecurities that they have that the system's put into place where they want to make people feel better if you're lighter and worse off if you're darker. Plus, they've actually turned that into commodity money where you got Nivea and other brands that will make money off people's insecurities. Then us being black men, we're stupid enough to fall into that and play into the hands of the oppressor, where we will encourage that behaviour and still perpetuate that same nonsense, be it through media, music, be it through books, be it through any kind of content where we will celebrate someone that's lighter. We play into that. The only time you don't really see that is in Afrobeats videos. But soon, give it like 3 or 4 years, they keep making commercial music. Burner's going to do his thing, Davido's going to do his thing, cool. But soon, you're going to start to see the change. We've allowed it through dancehall, we've allowed it through rap and R&B, we've allowed it through grime. You're starting to see the demise of the African mind. It's another book by Chinweizu called Decolonizing the African Mind, where he talks about even though you can walk around and be black, if you're not black up here, forget it. If you're not black in your mind, forget it. It's about having the African centeredness, which ties into my book, Is Blackness a Myth or Reality? Because the difference between being black and being African is black is political. White people don't really call themselves anything else, but they say I'm white, but that's about it because they know it's about politics. White gives you power. White gives you. Do you see what I'm saying? Black is an alternative word that came after, let's say, Negro or nigger, but it came from Negro, which in German means something, in Greek means necro, meaning corpse, meaning death, meaning so many different things. But black is just a political way of saying I am this, because it's not really a skin color. Nothing in this world is this color. Nothing in the universe is really that color. There's a few things you could say is the closest to it, which is carbon, which is from the earth, which with pressure makes diamonds, but nothing's really that dark. The darkest person in Africa is not even black. The whitest person in Europe is not even white. If they were, they'd be dead. So black, no one's actually black. We're just a shade of brown. So the idea of being black is just political to put you on a stance on where you are on the scale. But because we're so European and so, because of Stockholm syndrome, we like our oppressors so much, we'll follow into the terminology that they give us. If you're black and born before 1991, you'd probably put Black British on your parents put Black British on your birth certificate, whether you're African or not. Only after 1991 did they create Black British Caribbean or Black British African. So when people are separating ourselves, it's because the oppressors are giving us options. So when you got people saying, oh, okay, I'm mixed or I'm biracial, okay, cool, identify how you want to identify, but you're only using terminology that was given to you. Because 100 years ago, you were still black. 50 years ago, you was black. 40 years ago, you was black. That was it. You might say I'm mixed because my mum or my dad's white or my whatever. But in terms of politics, you was black. You're still IC3 to the police. You're still called the N-word. You are still called a certain ape. That's it. So the moment we start to detach ourselves from our collective thought, that's when we start to lose. In The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he talks about if you know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you're 50% in the battle and you've lost. If you know the enemy but you don't know yourself, you've lost straight away. But if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you're always going to win. And a lot of us don't know ourselves. So that's why we're always losing. We're making the same silly mistakes because we haven't learned from the people from before us. That's why reading is so fundamental, especially when it comes to boys. So you have Jawanza Kunjufu, this book here called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. This book here is this guy actually looks like Drake, don't you think? Like baby Drake back in the day. Look, Drake in it back in the day. His baby picture looks like Drake, right? But this book here, and this was from the 80s, I believe.
Wow,
I think this book is,
and it's so relevant.
it's so relevant.
Right this
Oh,
second.
I am telling you, he breaks it down in terms of when it comes to this book. He talks about destroy black boys because black boys are seen as the go-to people to attack first, because girls are they mature quicker and girls are seen as a lot smarter. When you look at the curriculum now, you look at GCSE results, African girls or black girls do better than African boys, Caribbean boys, whatever. So the boys seem to be the one to focus on because they're the weakest link. You always go for the weakest link when you want to fight a battle. And he says there's so many things that boys have to do when it comes to masculinity, it comes to broken homes, when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to so many different things. He says that they get attacked all the time, and that's how they destroy it. Because if you destroy the man, just like on the plantation where they used to dehumanize a man by tying a horse to each side and then rip the horse and split him in half. Or what they used to do is get a pregnant woman, stand her on a block, and then they used to get other pregnant women and children around. Then they used to cut her open and then have the baby drop out and then stamp on the baby's head, because the people that are watching, it's going to create trauma. It's going to create that little bit of a hormone in them that's going to be infused into the baby, which then the baby's going to be born in fear before anything else. So when you've got these people that they got tactics in order to get rid of people and to pump fear, they're always going to find a way to put it. That's why most of the adverts on on TV about Africa is a baby with a massive stomach, flies around their eyes. It's because you're like, oh, do you know what? I don't want to be attached to Africa. So you go to certain Jamaicans like, yo, you're African. They're like, why? Unless you're Rasta, it's like, why? Not even. It's because the vision of Africa has been so bad, which is about the miseducation of a Negro. So attacking boys was the first thing they wanted to do, because if you attack the power is in the men. The spirit is in the women. Spirit is in the women. Every revolutionary movement you can think of was because of a woman. You got the Haitian Revolution, which was great, and you had Toussaint Louverture, and you had Dessalines, and you had Bookman, but every single one of them had influence by a woman. Dessalines was the soldier. He was just thumping up the French, just dicing them up. Like, oh, you want to come here? All right, cool. Come. We're going to hide in the bushes, and then we're going to show you how we get down. He was then taught how to fight by his mother, African woman. Yeah? You had Queen Nanny of the Maroons in Jamaica. She, again, was the one who was like, boom. You had Asantewa as well. You had Ghana when they was defeating the English. Again, it's a woman with a shotgun saying, all right, it's on site, who wants it? She was one that's leading the team. Like every revolutionary, when you got Martin Luther King and you've got him saying, I have a dream, when he's got that speech and he's in the Capitol, you hear a woman, there's the audio you can hear where they try to mute it out, but the original, you can hear a woman in the background because he's talking, he's waffling. He's just saying what he wants to say. There's a woman in the background saying, talk about the dream, Martin. Talk about the dream. Then he goes. Yeah. And that becomes his prolific speech, but it's a woman in the background. The spirit, the essence is in the woman. The power is in the man. So when you've got the power and spirit together, you can't be controlled. You can't. So when you take it away, you have to take away the power first. Because women will fight. But if a man's in front, certain people are going to want to be like, whoa, maybe I don't want to rock it out with this person because this guy looks like he's kind of big and I don't really want any problems. So let me just stand off. So when you've got a black man protecting a black woman, they don't want to see that. They work their magic to separate that. They tried everything. They tried to separate the family by putting man against woman on the plantation. Then you try to separate the man by throwing him in jail. Then you try to separate the man by saying, do you know what? Don't cry. Don't be emotional. Don't even show weakness to your woman, because if you do that, you're going to be a wuss and she's not going to like you. Then go to the woman saying, you don't want a man that cries. What's wrong with you? Like, he's going to see you're going to, you're going to not cry and he's going to cry. Like, what kind of... So then you had the separation where you had a girl saying, women saying, do you know what? I don't need a man. I'm good for myself. I can protect myself. I don't need no weak man. Why are you crying for? Then you teach that to young boys, like they fall over and graze their knee. And most boys don't want to cry, but it's the fear of seeing blood where they're like, you know what I mean? You know, little ones don't cry until they see blood. So then you say to them, don't cry, man up and be man up. His balls haven't even dropped yet and you wanted him to man up. How? Because that's what you've been told. And then so we don't have that security where men can express. And then men can say, do you know what, I'm going to talk to you like a man to a woman, woman to a man, and say, do you know what, I got some issues I want to deal with, you know, but I don't know how to deal with it. Let me get some of your light. Let me get some of your wisdom. So men internalize it. So the men get sectioned because of mental health. There are a lot of people walking around today, especially a lot of old men, that are walking around with undiagnosed traumas because they can't express. Do you see what I'm saying? Whether it's, I've been on the road and I've seen some like, even if you had to lick down someone, that's traumatic. If you had to juke someone, you've actually had to feel the blade go into someone's skin. Say you killed them. You didn't want to do it, but you just on stuff that day because you weren't breathing. That's traumatic. Then you go jail, you see some things in jail, or something might have happened to you in jail, that's traumatic. Yeah. Then you come out, and then you've got what? You served your time, you paid your dues, and then you must go back into society and do what? At what point did you get any healing? But then, if you go to jail, you're, do you know what I mean, 5 times more likely to go back in. So then you go back in, doing the same thing, boom. Or they say you do something, you don't go to jail, and you're just navigating around, and just like you can't express yourself. That's traumatic. Seeing some stuff, like seeing someone getting shot, your brethren getting shot, and he's there dying out. That's traumatic. That's crazy. But we don't even want to. Some people, when they watch adverts of sick puppies, Google it. There are people that have actually called and said, "Can you take the advert down because it's traumatic?" Just seeing a puppy, they're not RSPCA. It's traumatic. But the way they've worked it is so we can be desensitized, is plugging it and saying, "Do you know what? Black people are 2/5 of a human being." That's what James Madison said. He was the 4th president of the United States. For him to justify having slaves, he had to say we're 2/5 of a human being. Meaning, if you go outside and you step on an ant, you're not going to feel bad because it's an ant. It's small. It's nothing. It's not a real person. So who cares? Or if it's a slug, you're like, ugh. But whatever. That's about it. So for him to justify slavery during the 1700s, he had to say black men and black women were 2/5 of a man. So now we still got that same mentality. Like if we was on stage and we had was an audience and I was doing like a presentation and I showed a puppy being crushed to death, most people would cry and be like, "Oh my God, oh my days." And especially if you're not black, you're definitely going to be like, "Oh, what can we do? Who's that horrible person that did that killed that puppy?" And they will start to raise money like out of nowhere. There'll be a GoFundMe page, like there'll be like 50, 100K, like boom, instantly. What can we do? If I show the slide and say this person he was on his way home from school, got stabbed, 15 years old, Baptista, Stratford. People be like, "Man, knife crime's crazy." So anyway, alright, what we getting for lunch, man's hungry, What you saying? No one do anything. The fact that we're in a situation now in society where a life of a young person is not taken as serious as the life of an animal, forget it. Forget it. The amount of money that gets raised for animals in comparison to the only time money gets raised for people is when it's time for burial. It's like, "Oh, can you help me? I can't afford to bury my son or bury my nephew or niece or daughter or whatever. Could you?" And then they might raise that 5K and then they can get the funeral done and whatnot. Other than that, there's no action because there is no need. Nothing's priority anymore. We are desensitized. And the moment we're desensitized from things that's happened to our young people, whether it be a boy or a girl, how can we call ourselves a nation? How can we call ourselves a people? Every nation cares about their young people at some point, or cares about their women or whatever. And we don't have that as black people. There's a what's his name? A Russian, I don't know if he's a philosopher, but I think he's into politics. I'm not too sure. His name's Dostoevsky, something like that. He says you can judge a nation by their prison population, what's happening in their prison. Okay, so with the population, black people are 3% of the population, but we are like 13% of the prison population. Meaning, if you put it into a ratio, there is more black people in prison in the UK than there are black people in prison in America. Let's put that into a bigger perspective. There are more black people in prison in America than there were slaves during the peak time of slavery in the United States in the South.
Well, they are the new slaves.
Thank you. So even though we're seen as small as the UK, racism, prejudice, and institutional racism is worse here, but it's subtle. I'd rather Trump because he's going to call me an N-word and I'm good. I need to know how far I can trust you. You know when it's subtle where it's like, "Hi, you're right," or they move your bag, or they might say, "Do you know what? I don't know. I don't want to stand next to this person." That is worse because you don't know how. And if you're dealing with that, where you're always on edge, I don't know if they like me, they like me, are they racist, I don't can't. That's traumatic. That's sending you mad. Most of us are walking around mad. You know, like the fact that you can't even be yourself in your day-to-day life as a black person is crazy. That is traumatic. Think about it when you're in a lift. You're just like that. I'm just like this. All right. You're more relaxed. You don't have a hood, but you might even do this anyway in a lift. And just you just for the sake of it, you want to make them feel comfortable. So let's say you're in a lift, yeah? You got your hat, you got your trackie on. White person comes in, white woman or white man, just come from work in a suit. And they door opens, you're already in there, and they come in and they see you. What's the first thing you do?
Just try and smile.
Thank you.
You have to.
Right. What kind of smile do you do?
A fake smile. It's not. It's the fake smile, man. It's the I'm peaceful.
Thank you. Exactly. And people watching say, "Do you know? I know what you're talking about." Exactly.
Yeah, standard. Even today, when I was in my own where I live, I got into a lift. Someone else come in. Like, obviously, I'm big, black, or whatever, whatnot. She's a woman. I think she was like an Asian descent or something. But you could just feel that they're uncomfortable stepping into this small area where we are. I'm not going to harm her. I'm going to my yard.
Yeah.
But you could feel the tension. So you have to kind of, not to say put my hands behind my back and like be almost defenseless. Like, I'm not here to harm you. I'm just trying to get to where I'm getting to. So you put on a smile. You know what I mean? You do the whole fake. I'm just...
And you might raise your eyebrows when you smile, right?
Yeah,
you do
the whole 9 yards.
Right?
Yeah.
Ah, see, you know that. Right. So the fact that we have to do that on a day-to-day basis, and you do that from when you're young. I remember doing that in school days. Like, because you just know, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
You want to be less threatening to what they seem to perceive you as.
Exactly. Why are we doing that? That's not our job. How are you 16, 15 years old, you know, to like that because because of what you may think about me, I'm going to do the job to make sure there is no other race that does that. We do that on a day. That's traumatic. Who's writing about that? Who's tweeting that? No one is. So even though we might go, I'm doing certain things, we're still going to do it. You may have to do it. You've got a lovely jumper on, you got a shirt on, but it's like, you're still a black man. So let me just, you're right. Or you might go high pitch. Okay, have a good day. Like, you want to change just to please them. They don't change to please us. They don't understand when we feel uncomfortable. Really? You felt uncomfortable? I didn't actually think that was the case. I mean, he was very open. He spoke. I mean, yes, he made monkey noises, but, he probably likes animals. And yes, he threw a banana at you. Maybe he thought you was hungry. Like, yes, he called you a coon, but maybe he's thinking about his childhood when he had a gollywog as a child to play with. Like, and then when you say, no, you're doing this, then they say, oh, but when you speak out, it's reverse racism. It's like, that's called psychological projection. When you actually believe in something, but you don't know how to deal with it, so you pull it onto someone else. And, no, you're doing it. Like, back in the days we used to do it as kids, when you fart, but you blame it on someone else. Like, oh, you farted, but it's like you smelled it, you dealt it. Like, that's what it is. It's called psychological projection. So that's what they're very good at that, and they're very good at what you call compartmentalization. Do you know what I mean? So they'll say, do you know what? You're all right. I like you too. You're all right.
The rest of them.
Right?
I've heard that.
Right? Oh, do you know what I mean? Or do you know what? I hate black people. I do sometimes. You know what I mean? I hate them. I hate the little wogs. I hate them. But you see that Sterling? Oh, he can score goals, can't he? Right? Like,
yeah, real shit.
But as a victim, every single day we have to put on that face, especially if in the corporate world. You got your little money. You're a lawyer. What? There is not one institution that I can think of that's not racist. Not one in the UK. It's worse here as in the States. States is you have BET. You imagine, we had Real McCoy and that was it. That was the closest we got to black TV. Desmond's as well. That's it. Do you think we can have BET? No. So what if we called it white entertainment television? You do. It's called the 5 channels. Like every single one of them. Like, so say it loud. This book here, phenomenal book. And Marxism and the Fight Against Racism, edited by Brian Richardson. This book looks at being black and proud, but it connects all sorts of revolutions. So even when, like, you had revolutions in the 70s and 80s here, the Black Power movement, a lot of Asians were involved. Because if you weren't white, you was non-white, meaning you was black. So a lot of Asians were called black. So this book highlights that from America from Marx to movements that was happening here to but it touches more on American movements, but from a Marxist approach. This book is very, 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 very good. This book here was actually given to me by a sister, an auntie. Now, it's a textbook of Igbo linguistics. Now, the reason why she gave this to me is because I was speaking to her about the vernacular of the English language, meaning like you have there, meaning over there.
Yeah.
And then you have theirs and like theirs sort of thing. And then
you have there, but like as in they are. Or, yeah,
right.
So yeah, I got you.
Yeah, hair, and all kinds of hairs.
Yeah.
So I was speaking to her about that, and she was like, "What the English language is, it's like a." She said it's like a spell. Yeah, and she's from the Igbo tribe, and she said that when you start to understand the English language, you start to realize how messed up it is, because you go to other parts of the world, like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is probably like a real ignorant statement, but how many? There's like over like 300 characters in the Chinese lexicon. I think there's over 300 characters. You know, we've got like 26. I think there's loads of characters, and then like when I see the characters, I'm like, bruh, I can't learn all that. It's long. But other people learning language say it's so hard because of like you got capital letters that in the wrong place, and you've got like when it comes to like the word light, and you got GHT, like that should give you the sound, but it doesn't. They've taken it out. So silent letters, and that's just like, like it's crazy. So what she says is that when you start to learn English language, Dr. Umar Johnson talks about it as well, saying that a lot of our languages have a lot of vowels in it, as opposed to English language being consonant. So a lot of us are structured by, hello, I'm going over there to join my friends to discuss how we can solve this solution. When it comes to African language, it's like water, it flows. So we will say something like, listen, and then we say like in more like colloquial street terms, it's like, so I'm going to go check my bedroom quickly, and then we're going to go do a couple of things, and then we're going to move over there. You know what I mean? So feel me. So we speak where it's like, it just flows and we can understand the whole thing. Now, another key thing when it comes to language is understanding that when it comes to European doctrine, a lot of it's so structured where it's like, they will say something to you, and then like you in university, and it's like, okay, discuss, or do you understand? When it comes to African language, it's more spiritual. So it's like, do you feel me? Majority of the time you say to him, do you feel what I'm saying? You're like, yeah, I feel you, because it's not even about what you... It's like, guys, yeah, you know when you've had a dispute with a woman, right? And it's not what she said.
How it said.
It's how she said it. Do you know what I mean? It's always about how, and that's the African way of understanding language. It's not, hey, I don't care what you say. It's how you say it. Like, what do you say? It's all the time. So naturally, we're like, oh, do you feel me? Because we're rhythmatic
Vibrations.
people. Exactly. So when you understand like West African languages, like the Igbo language, it's amazing. So she gave me this book, which highlights how certain. So for example, like because of spirituality, like mental health doesn't exist there.
Okay.
It doesn't, because there's no term. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's no terminology for it, because it's like, what? We just call it that, and then we've got a solution for it. We don't understand depression. We don't understand bipolar. There's no word for it. So even in languages today, in certain parts of Africa, in 54 countries, there are still languages that don't have a word for something that we would have over here. It's crazy. But then it's like, is that a bad thing? And I look at it as like, no, because they don't have a word for it, because they don't identify it, because it doesn't happen. So when it comes to like I was saying about mental health, it just doesn't exist, because it's like, well, no, that's you just need some rest. Like you just need some rest. Like you like over here we have a headache, and it's like, oh, I need to take some paracetamol or whatnot. Then it's like, okay, well, Africans look at it and say, well, where's your headache? There's 3 places you can have a headache: here, top and back. So here would be like stressed, here would be like hunger, and here would be like lack of water. So is your headache here? Drink some more water. Do you know what I mean?
Problem solved.
This is what I'm saying. So they're good at solutions. Do you know what I mean? But with spirituality, it comes from the women. On a slave plantation, the doctor was also the chef. So because your food is your medicine, so you had a lot of women who were also witch. They call them witch doctors. I don't like to use that terminology, but they were witch doctors. But they're also the chefs, like the mammies, because. You see what I'm saying? Even though they was going through oppression, the slave master wanted the mammy to whip up something for him, because he knew she had the remedies. Despite, I don't like you. I don't like your people. I don't like your family. And I'm probably going to sell one of your sons soon anyway. But I got a little bit of a cough. Can you just whip? So she'll just get this little herb, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then boom. Imagine that. Plus, when they had children, they'll get the slaves to breastfeed because they do the African, what's the little, oh man, the substance that comes out before the milk comes out, that little bit of energy there that comes out, the little bio kind of type thing, that in itself holds so much, like in terms of nutrients and stuff like that. They would make, when they have a new baby, they would make the slave like breastfeed. It's mad. Like there's little, like, you know you're gonna be whipped, but let me just I'm gonna breastfeed. Yeah, bring your child, come. I'm just, and then they never. So if you have a child, your child would breastfeed on this one, and then the white child would breastfeed on this one. They would never swap. So it's like, if you ever let my child touch that tit, I'm gonna imagine that. He was like, yeah, just don't keep him on that one and keep your eye on In the 1600s, you had something called the National, what's it called? It's called the Killings Act, the National Killings Act, I think it was, which basically means if you whip your slave and they die when they're on the plantation, that you can be all right. You won't go to jail. You won't get any problems. But there's a terminology which was like, all right, well, the terms are, if they are working and doing a job where they're not being overworked and you whip them, then okay, it's okay. But if you whip them whilst they're doing like these crazy little things, then you might get into trouble and you won't get no money for them and that as well. So reason why they created the Killings Act was because white slave women were killing mixed race babies. It was a national outcry that it's like they knew that their husbands fancied the black women on the plantation. So when the mixed race child was born, they're like, yeah, my husband, and they didn't like him. So it was like, do you know what? So they were killing little kids all the time. All the time. Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Joy DeGruy, fantastic book. She talks about that, and she talks about how, for example, white women emulated black women by the way they dress. So slave masters, they fancied the arse of an African woman. So white women was like, yeah, all right then, let's create a bustle. And a bustle, the Victorians used to wear is like a little tight, little corset, real tight, and then the back of it just flows out. It's the same as what the African, they tried to emulate black women. So when it's like now Kim Kardashian's trying to, it's been going on from slavery times. Because their husbands fancied. Do you see what I'm saying? They even say, even same auntie that gave me this book, she said that the McGann car, the second one, not the first one, the second one, the back of it was actually mimicked after there's an African woman that the French person tried to emulate from Africa. I was like, you sure? She goes, yeah. She gave me the name as well. She goes, this woman, look her up. The McGann's built off a black woman's ass. I was like, seriously, I forgot the name. But which ties into this book here. But Nick Davies, Dark Heart, and I think a lot of people may have read this, and it's the shocking truth about hidden Britain. And this book here is deep. It talks about the monstrosities that Britain have done, not just to black people, but also to white people. So obviously, white people were slaves as well. So they enslaved Irish. They enslaved other people because they're seen Irish as, you're not quite white. Do you know what I mean? Even in America, Irish people weren't even white. Italian people weren't white until they weren't, technically white until 1940. Do you know what a cuss word is for an Italian? An old one.
Go on.
Guinea. They used to call Italians Guinea.
Yeah, I heard of that.
Yeah. Do you know where Guinea is? Guinea's in Africa. It's the cusp of Africa.
That's right.
The little, just before you get to the bend where you've got Ghana, Nigeria, that little cusp, that's called Guinea or New Guinea. That's where they stole a lot of slaves from. They used to call Italians black people. So, and Irish people, well, we know about this history of the Irish and the South Africans. I mean, the Pygmy tribes were the first people to migrate up into Ireland. Hence why you've got that St. Patrick's Day, and then you've got you've got the story of St. Patrick, he fights the evil and but what it is, the leprechaun is meant to be the Pygmy tribe, and the Pygmy tribe is the ones that brought in a lot of their spirituality. So when you've got him pulling off tricks, the little leprechaun, that's to say that these were the people that created the tricks and then when Patrick killed the snake was to do with the snake that the Egyptians used to wear, because the pharaohs have the snake up there, and that's meant to be similar to like the pineal gland and the candidate that goes with that. Anyway, there's all that stuff. Like Scotland's named after Scotia, Queen Scotia, was an Egyptian woman. Like, like Scotland's named after an African woman. Anyway, moving on. Even Europe's named after Europa, which is an African woman that Zeus had a thing with Europa, and he loved her so much he gave her the island of Crete. That's not even an African story. That's European. They know that when they created the coin. the Europe coin, yeah, the first euro.
Yeah.
They had Europa on there. They had the black women on the coin. No one really paid attention. It was like euros as a coin, whatever. But Europe's actually named after the black woman. Anyway, moving on. The monstrosities of Britain are so deep, but what they do with dark art, what they would do, they would say, oh, but we civilized Africans. So we wasn't that bad. I mean, we did, we killed a few people. But we civilized Africans because they were believing in some bestiality stuff. They were believing in all these kind of crazy things. And no, we gave them one religion, one God. That was it. And then we gave them clothes, language. So we civilized them. That's what Britain's notion is. And this is what the book kind of touches on. But also, when you've got stories like that, they take away themselves from like King Leopold II, who went to Congo, and he was like worse than Hitler. Do you know what I mean? Hitler killed like 6 million people, sorry. And but King Leopold went to 10. So if you go on Google and type King Leopold in, you will see children with hands missing. So basically, when it came to rubber, he had a quota. So let's say like, all right, you've got to be able to give me 10 kilograms, right, in rubber, in weight. If you don't, I'm going to chop off one of your arms. You come in with 8.5. You say, I tried, but da-da-da-da. All right, cool. Chop off one. Then you've got to do the next day. You've got to do 10 with your one hand. If you don't, chopping off that one. Then we're chopping off your feet. You're seeing children, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see them. You see, like, imagine, this was even deep. Do you know King Leopold never went to Congo? Like, he never set foot in Congo. But because in 1885, you had the scramble for Africa where European people were like, do you know what? We're going to carve up. You can have Nigeria. You can have Congo. You can have Uganda, Senegal. So they carved it up. So he was like, yeah, that's mine. And then he wanted to create a free state in Congo. He was like, cool. Boom, 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 boom. So he had people over there just going on a madness, chopping off kids' hands, arms, everything. And you could see them, like the stubs, like that, sitting next to white people there with chains on them. He did that. So Britain's like, we may have did our little thing, but we're not as bad as King Leopold. Like, he was evil. He was worse. He didn't. It's like, what? Like, you did do that. Like, do you know what I mean? You just tried to minimalize it, but you did this for like hundreds and hundreds of years. Like punishments where you'd put like sand into a slave's mouth and then add water to the sand because sand and water, it hardens. That was your punishment. Like, Caribbean was the worst place. Even though America's got their little history, Caribbean was the worst place for punishment. That's why so many slaves went to Caribbean, because they died. Life expectancy was only a few years. And that's simply because the cotton trade, the sugarcane trade it was more fruitful than the cotton trade after a while. So they had to keep sending people over. Do you know what I mean? Carriacou had their little bit, Grenada had their little bit, St. Lucia had their little bit, Barbados was like the jewel. In 1661 they created the Barbados Code, and that was the way that people used that as a manual to teach other people how to enslave people in the Caribbean. Like, this is the punishment you should use. It will work. Like, and that all came from Britain. You know what I mean? Queen Elizabeth said, also, there's a guy named Sir Francis Drake that we learned about in primary school. He was the first person to circumnavigate the planet. English person. Africans been doing it for time. But he was the first English person. That's what they tell you. It's like, raw. So he did that in the 1570s. So what about the time when he was travelling in 1550s with Sir John Hawking, his family member, and he went to Guinea and slaughtered 800 people, took 400 and brought them to Britain. And Queen Elizabeth, who we think that is the greatest queen ever, she was like, yeah, love that. Keep doing it. So hold on a minute. You've got a slave ship in Borough Market next to London Bridge, right across the road from the Shard. You've got a slave ship right there, which actually talks about, this is a replica ship that Sir Francis Drake used to circumnavigate the earth. But you miss out the 20, 30 years before that when he was taking trips to Africa and then going to the Caribbean and trading with his family member, Sir John Hawking. Like, that's why the miseducation is so important, because they will teach you about someone like Sir Francis Drake, and he's a sir, meaning he had to get knighted. But then, in the same breath, you're missing out all other parts where he actually enslaved people. When they say that, oh yeah, also, there was a Spanish Armada, meaning he went to the Caribbean and he intercepted Spanish ships. So that's what it's famous for, by taking over the ships and taking their cargo. But what was Spain doing in the Caribbean? They were transporting slaves. So when you're saying cargo, what kind of cargo are you talking about? Because I know there was some people in there. Like, but then when you control the narrative, you can say whatever. So That's how you, if you take away the knowledge and you take away the essence of what blackness is, and you take away the fruitfulness of Africa, then you take away the power of man and woman, and you take away the strength in the youth and saying, you know, you're the next generation, and Africans always come with oral learning where we're going to pass it down through, sit around this campfire, we're going to tell you a story, some beat a drum, I'm going to give you some information. And that's what music is, that's what music was, as well as a way of communicating. If you take away these little principles as African people, as black people, then we're screwed. Then, when you've got books like this is a book here. So this is a sociology book, a GCSE sociology book, right? Now, in this book, in this book, go to page 94. Now, this is a sociology book. Now, this section of the book talks about how family structures are run. Okay? Now, remember when I said earlier about you take the man out of the essence, take the power away from the spirit, and you move them apart. So when you go to page 94, there's a section about so you got a section that's on South Asia, you got a section on the Sub-Saharan, but read the Caribbean part. What is it? Just read, just actually read it. Read the part. It says this is a sociology book, okay, for GCSE, meaning that's across the nation. So everybody who's going to do sociology at GCSE level will read it. You could be in somewhere in Luton, somewhere in Manchester, somewhere in Muckerland, somewhere far off in the sticks, Hogwarts. You could be anywhere, and you're doing sociology. This is what you're going to read. Right. Yeah.
So it says, in Caribbean families, the fathers and husbands are large. This isn't real. This isn't real.
Read. It's real.
What?
Read it.
Man. No, hold on.
Okay.
GCSEs. This country.
Right. Okay.
James.
Right. So start again.
No.
I'll read it, fam.
No, read it. Go on. Now hear this again. Now let's say like you're all right. Let's just put it back to black and white for this moment, right? You're a white child. You don't really know any black people. You haven't really seen black people. Okay. The only time you see is Skepta on TV or Stormzy, right? And black culture on TV.
Yeah.
But the notion of a black family, you have no idea. But you're doing sociology, and they're doing this segment of the book, and you're going to do this for your mock exam. Okay, cool. Now, this is what you read.
Right. In Caribbean families, the fathers and husbands are largely absent, and women assume the most responsibility in child rearing. When men and women live together, it is usually in cohabiting or common law relationships that reproduce the traditional patriarchal division of labour. This family system is also characterised by child shifting, that is, the passing of children to other relatives or acquaintances. If the parents find themselves unable to take care of their children. As a result, multiple women are involved in childhood socialisation.
Thank you. Now, that's a GCSE book where it says in Caribbean families, husbands and fathers are absent. That's a narrative starting for a 15-year-old.
I can't believe this.
You pick up a newspaper and you see about crime and stuff. You probably see father absence when it comes to blackness. If you write the books, you can decide on what it says. Now, what's funny is, what statistics don't show you, is that when it comes to a father not being in their child's life or living in the same house, black fathers are more active in their child's life when they're not in the same household than white fathers. You would never think so. Google it. You will see. If you're watching it, Google it. Google it. And you will see. Google it. Black fathers are more active in their child lives than white fathers are. You would never think so. Because of the narrative. Because we don't control the media. So we don't control the stories. We can complain about it. Now, black Twitter, people say, is there a black Twitter? Black people on Twitter, but it's called black Twitter. They went crazy and said, you know what? That's our issue. That's our problem. So they stopped printing it.
Was this a recent book?
Yeah. Only by a few years. So they done it. They did a revised version. So it's updated, and they took that part out because they said it was racist and whatnot. But they kept other little bits and pieces in. So it's like, wow, the fact that you put it out with confidence just goes to show. But there's children that's going to read and be okay. Well, black fathers are around.
So you've mentioned about when you kind of give lectures or when you're teaching students. So what I don't think we actually touched upon. What do you actually teach?
Oh, do you know what? I don't even have a structure of what I teach. I teach everything in terms of like, so if they struggle with English,
So where?
I teach in a secondary school. In South London.
Okay.
And I teach in a like a Saturday school as well, I'd call it, in East London, in Forest Gate. Gotcha. Shout out to East Side Academy, East Side Youth Leaders Academy. They are fantastic. And that's like year 4s, year 5s, 6 right up until year 4s to 11, but I've only taught 4 to 8. I haven't done year 9, 10, 11 yet. But they brilliant minds that are coming through. Some great politicians are on their way, I tell you. And secondary school, my one is like, I'm like an external mentor, but I teach like science. I'll teach English and maths. But what I try to do, because the ones I deal with are like, they're on SEN, so special educational needs.
Yeah, I've taught. I used to teach in that sector.
Right. So it's about. It's like, all right. It's not about what you teach; it's how you teach it. So I give them that sense of belief. So if they've got work that they struggle with, I try and give them an alternative way to
approach it.
Exactly. Yeah. How to look at it and break it down, because there's 4 steps in how the system works against ethnic minorities. So there's 4 things that work that they get tested for, which is it's called working memory. How well do they remember what's going on? Processing speed. How quick they can solve sums. There's also non-verbal reasoning, and that's about how well do they understand the work without actually doing it before, no prior understanding of how to do it. And then the last one is verbal comprehension, and that's where a lot of our children, especially black children from working class background, they struggle, because it's about terminologies that they don't understand. So they trip up on verbal comprehension, and that's how they can't say you can't come to this school or you can't come to this college or university because you're black. So what they will do is that, all right, we will put it in the test score. So the racism is in the points, it's in the actual results. So every child will be good in the first 3 points. They can remember, they can process, and I haven't done this before, but I'll be good at it. But verbal comprehension, that's where they trip them up. That's how they get it. It's like the word. So if you go to secondary school, you're in year 11, and you go to a secondary school in Halston, right? And then you go to another person goes to a secondary school in Richmond. The level of education may be the same, but there's certain words that's going to be used in lesson.
Funny, I went to school in Richmond still.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Yeah, it was good, but do you know what? The school nearly got closed down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a mad one still. Christ School.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's back open. It's still open.
It stayed open after a lot of us left.
Right. But it's a good school now, isn't it?
It's a brilliant school now.
Yeah,
it's a good school now.
Is it near Barnes? Was there Barnes?
Yeah.
I know Christ. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
When I was there, it was a madness still.
It's a phenomenal school now.
Yeah. Totally turned around. Yeah.
Because even like back in the day, I used to hear about the school, and the reason I knew of this school is because so many expelled children from other schools would end up there, and it'll be a mix of Southwest.
Yeah, South and West.
South
and West.
Yeah.
South and West still.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mad thing still.
But phenomenal school, you're telling me now.
It's phenomenal now.
Yeah, they've changed it up.
Yeah,
it's totally different.
Yeah.
Totally
They're doing bits now.
Yeah.
So the wording you might get in certain lessons will be different because the vernacular is different. You got a different level of teaching. So a lot of black children suffer because they're not learning certain vocab as they would in another place. So that's how they trip them up. So when it comes to like GCSEs exams, it's like, I don't understand it. You know how to do it, but you don't know how to get it. So for example, like you've got in maths, they will teach you like, all right, take this, right? They will say to you, I want you to calculate rate times time equals distance. Rate times time equals distance. I say to them, calculate it. They're like, how do like, nah, sir, man, like, you're marking me off, man. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. I'm like, calculate it. And like, I don't know. I'm like, all right then. So usually I give them like a tennis ball, and then like 2 people across the room. So I'll do it with you. See that £2? Throw it to him, but you have to catch it.
Ready?
Oh, one job. One job. Throw it back to him. And throw it back to him. And then throw it to me. All right. So I said, you just did it. Rate times time equals distance. They're like, what do you mean? So I said, all right. So the rate is the speed, right? The rate is that. The time is how long it's going to be in the air. So when you threw it, how do you know not to throw it and make it hit the door? How did you know?
Could judge the distance between the two of us.
How? Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Experience. I guess experience.
It's just like, you know,
Have you thrown
the rounders, whatever you've done.
Have you thrown a £2 to him before?
Not a £2.
No, but I've thrown something similar. I played pound up many a time. So
Same here, yeah.
I know how to.
You know how to.
You know what I mean?
But how?
Practice.
But how do you know? How do you know to get it right?
From using your eyes, judgment, distance, and knowing what power you can use to put in towards going that direction. So if I know you're a meter away, then I'm gonna use a certain amount of force for it to get to that different position.
There you go. Kinetic energy. So we always use kinetic energy, but when you read in the science book, it's like kinetic energy. Like, what? I don't, but you use it all the time. So it's like you knew how to throw it because you knew how long you wanted to be in the air for in order to land in that person's palm. Rate times that by the time it's going to be in the air, which is going to be like half a second, and where it's going to land. Because you know, if you put more power into it, it's going to go further. So you've had to lessen the power so you have less time in the air so you can hit that point. Rate times time equals distance. If you do basketball, you know how to do swoosh. So you know how far you want the ball to go, how long it's going to be in the air to get full swoosh. If it's off the backboard, that's an angle. So that's trigonometry. You're doing angles.
Yeah.
So you know how to do angles. What are you talking about? So they're like, oh, so I'm like, all right, stand up. They're like, okay, sit down. Okay, stand up. Okay, sit down. You just did a right angle. Your legs had to bend at a right angle for you to sit down. So when you say you can't do angles, shut up. You know, like, you can do it. So it's not what you teach, it's how you teach it. So what I do is I break it down to a simple way. There's a guy that I used to read a lot of his books, Dr. Henrik Clark and Dr. Ben Yakinen. Them two are like the leaders of like this wouldn't, most of the books that you hear about that people read, like you probably hear like, shout out to like a Carla, like he's read a lot of Dr. Henrik Clark's books as well. These two individuals in terms of like knowledge and African-centered knowledge, they are the ones that said, do you know what? If you can explain something difficult to a 7-year-old child, that's intelligence. When you're speaking about these big words like my epistemology and my ontology and good, but if you can't explain that to a 7-year-old child, it's not intelligence. So it's about getting like the most difficult sum, just simplifying it. Who cares about how big it is? If you trip up on the verbal comprehension, you're gonna lose because they created the language and we don't. Just what I'm saying, and especially if we're moving like this in vibration, like technically we should be learning to music. Anything said over a beat goes into your subconscious whether you like it or not.
It's funny to say that because when I was in uni, I was learning like actions, insertions, and if like all the muscles. Like I don't think I could do it right now, but when I was learning, I used to do it by like almost rhyming it, like rap it. And that's how I just learn it. I just learn it because I was learning it in a rap. And I remember one of my guys that I was going, he was like, bro, you should just like record it and sell it to anyone else that's doing the same course because that's how you're learning it so easily. So it makes sense when you're saying that's exactly what came to mind. Being able to learn all my actions, origins, and insertions was literally by rapping it and learning what's what with each muscle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But we do it as children. So you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my... Right, cool?
Yeah.
Now say the alphabet backwards.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Right then. Because we don't learn it through a beat backwards, so we have no idea. So everything we learn is to a beat. From when we're young, we hear... That's what we hear when we're like a fetus, embryo. We're hearing a heartbeat. We're hearing a rhythm all the time. It's our mother's heartbeat. Do you know what I mean? That when you're making a beat. Again, it's what you're hearing in here. When Buddhists go that same frequency of going that vibration here that goes into your consciousness, goes into your pineal gland, is the same tone frequency that babies hear when they're in their mother's womb. Mental. How did the Buddhists know that? They didn't get like a microphone. All right, let's record that and try and, all right, Kanye, what are you saying? Are you liking this? No, it wasn't like that. They are in tune with themselves. That's what I said. The Buddhists taught me a lot. That vibration sound is crazy. Like, and you got to think about, if you get like a glass of water and you put like a speaker near it and you're seeing what the water's doing, like going grrrr, and you're playing certain music, that's what's going on inside your body as well. Like, because your body's 70% water. So when you're thinking I'm hyped, like, oh yeah, it's because the vibration from the bass is vibrating your waters. So we learned, when I was in Jamaica, I went to school in Jamaica, we learned everything to a beat. Even like we had a ruler. This is when we had the chalkboard days, yeah? Like showing my age and that. But we had chalkboard and then you had the ruler at the top. And then when we had to learn to count the centimeters, we had to do it to be 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter, 5, everything. Do you know what I mean? Everything. So I would be like, all right, drum in the corner. Do you know what I mean? But do you know, adult literacy right now, you can even pull it up yourself on your phone. Adult literacy in the Caribbean, 90 on average, there's like 18 Caribbean countries. But on average, I would say out of, let's say I can say 7 Caribbean islands, adult literacy is above 85%. The first, so Cuba's first, I think Barbados, Cuba's at 99.8% of adults.
That's Castro's doing still.
Right. 99.8% of adults in Cuba are literate. Barbados, where my mum's from, 99.6% of adults are literate. Do you know in the UK, do you know what it is?
No.
Do you know 35% of adults in the UK are illiterate? 35% are illiterate. So when we're coming over here from Africa or the Caribbean to come and learn, but it's like University of the West Indies is actually beating, besides Oxford, LSE, Cambridge, most of the red bricks, it's actually beating every other university in terms of its results. Caribbean learning is always better because sometimes they even learn in water. They go out. Well, we've got, why are we not learning to water? Because we've got water in us. So we should be on a boat and we're just studying, chopping up reasons, hearing nature in the background. What? That's what we should be doing. But when we're in a room, it's just like 4 white walls and then, you know what I mean? They did racism, there's whiteness everywhere. Then you've got artificial lighting. So you're not getting any vitamin D. And then it's winter time. It's cold. So you're suffering from SAD, S-A-D, which is seasonal adjustive disorder. And then you've got other little traumas doing it because you saw your bedroom get licked down. Then you've got issues with your ex-girlfriend or your child's mother. So you've got that. Then you've got to go to work, but you got to sort money out because that rent's due. Then so many different things as a man that you're going to go through. A particular man, not every man, but let's say a particular man, that's his scenario. Like, and he's not getting vitamin D to charge his melanin. He's not able to think straight. He's not breathing properly. Like, there's so many things that black men go through. It's crazy to just even be equal. Just to be equal. Imagine that. We're just trying to be civil. It's like the new civil rights. We're not even we just want civil rights. You know, can we just get along? We just want to be civil. Not like, well, respect me. I'm a human, you know. I came first. What are you doing? Nope. It's like, I just want to be civil. As black people, that's literally what we're trying to do now. Be civil. Hence, like, sorry to cut you. Hence, like, I like it when we're celebrating the first. You know, like, oh, we're the first person to get this award and we're the first person to... I like it because it's an achievement. Great. But then it's still showing me, like, where are we going to learn? Like, it's acceptance. Because say you're a rapper and, like, we know you're dope, but you didn't get a Brit Award. It's like you're the first black person to get a Brit Award as a rapper. It's like sick. You're like, yeah. And you pull it on the caption on Instagram, like, yeah. Bro, we know you're sick, but it's acceptance in their eyes. So they've accepted you, so it's like, yay, we've let you through. Yeah. Like, we've got to stop celebrating being the first one. And we keep doing it. Other cultures will jump onto everything what ethnic minorities do all the time. Whether you're Asian, whether you're black, always jump on and we're like, yeah, well done. But then they never celebrate us. Never. You will get that one Becky doing a dirty wide or doing some kind of Afrobeats dance. And we're like, oh my gosh, she's sick. Aye, she's doing her thing. All right, cool. She's doing a bit about culture. All right, great. Let you try and do something that's in their realm. Do they celebrate you? I am yet to see on social media when a black person achieves something that's great, that's considered white, that white people say, you know what? You're the first black person to do it. No. They will wait for us to be like, well done, retweet, like. And then they'll be like, oh, well, that's a great achievement. But they don't celebrate because getting a great degree or being a professor is seen as white. White people don't big up black people when it comes to them becoming a professor. We're celebrating the first black female professor last year, Olivette Otelli. She's the first black woman to be a history teacher in this day and age when black women are history. They're the first people. But we're celebrating that now. When it came out, people was like, yeah, sick. We was like, well done. That's an achievement in this world. That's fantastic, especially in Britain. No white people was bigging her up. She got white hate. All the time. Oh, okay, well, history. Or Now that you know history, you can go back to your country. This is live on Twitter. Like, on Twitter, no one's saying anything. I'm like... So then it's our fault because as black men, we should be protecting her. We should say, oh, yo, I'm going to slide in that person's DMs. Listen, keep it up. Same thing with Diane Abbott. She might say some things that are a bit wild. It's a bit wild. Yeah, I don't know if you should even say that. But as a unit, as a collective, we should be protecting her. She will go on Question Time and they'll disrespect her. She will go to these shows, BBC. She'll go to all these things and then what? We just let her get havoc. So if we can't protect a black woman live on TV, we should be turning up with them. So, do you know what time? Where you going? Tuesday? All right, I'm with you. What time? 8 o'clock. And we just roll out. And we just wait outside. Say, the moment someone right. But it has to be done. The moment someone says something disrespectful, we're entering the building. Just try and know. Police or no police, try and know. We're coming in. When she's coming out, we walk with her. How are you getting home though? All right, you Uber. We're jumping in an Uber with you. How about 2 cars deep? We're rolling behind. We have to, because it happens all the time.
Next minute, Diane's getting assassinated, boy.
But we get it. But we get it. We should. That's how we should be protecting her. So we know that no one can't. Our issue, we'll keep it in house. We don't we don't disrespect black men, we disrespect black women, disrespect anyone. We'll just keep that in house. We keep that. But if someone tries, it's like your little sibling, innit? Oh, shut up, you're an idiot. Shut up, I'm paying. What? Tell mum and watch happens. Tell mum. And you'll have that relationship with them. But the moment someone else says, oh, your brother's an idiot, you're thinking, what? Oh, done. Like, it's on site, right? We don't have that mentality when it comes to our people. We just let anybody just disrespect our people. So how can we teach the young people to have community vibe and love whenever stop stabbing when we don't even protect ourselves as adults anyway? We don't protect women. Women don't protect men. So what are we really doing? That's why early intervention, I teach them the alternative learning, but I teach them the importance of sticking together because the power is in number. Do you know what I mean? If you take away your thumb, it's kind of hard to like really pick up a mug. Like it's kind of difficult. You can do that, but to really pick up a Coke can or it's kind of hard. So the digit of a thumb is very important. Every finger plays together has more impact. Otherwise, you're just single digits. And collectively, if we understand that community vibe and start sticking to African proverbs, whether you're religious or not, we can get the job done. But we have to eradicate so much and we have to learn so much because of the powers that be have done a great job.
Where do we start? Would you say it's education? Would you say it's because we always have community talks and we always have like I wouldn't say riots, but we get together and we make noise, then everyone kind of dies down and parts ways. So where do we start in, I guess, utilising and coming together and forming something?
Very good question. Happens a lot. You know, like after events, like, all right, we've spoken about it. Yeah. Now what do we do? Yeah. So true. With me, like, I respect our generation, but I'm done with our generation. I think we're too far gone. Wade, the work could be too... It's like trying to convince Kanye to like, no, you're a black man and you're great and yeah, stick to your Africanness. Just give up. you be spending too many years. I start with the young people because they're the ones that are seeking identity. Like I was saying before, a lot of them don't even know that they're black. They don't even know their ethnicity. They don't know their culture. Because they're not really fussed about it because we're not giving them the tools. We're too busy worrying about paying the bills. We're too worried about Brexit. We're worried about everything that's happening out there and what's happening in our homes. We have to reverse that and give it to the young. If you are not in a position to speak out because you have a corporate job and you're scared to lose your job because you're scared to upset white people, great, fantastic. But if you've got money, you've got capital, but then you plug that into an organisation or a movement and you just be a silent partner and just get a little recommendation afterwards and stuff like that. Do that. If you are working with young people, right, and you are like seeing what's happening on the streets and you believe... Like, the work I do, I've got a campaign coming out next year, which is called Young Readers, Future Leaders. And that's about what I will be doing is taking 10 different young black people to a black bookseller, a black publishing house, a black vendor, black bookshop, whatever. Because I want to create that barbershop vibe within a bookshop where we crack joke, buy books, and we're just having a little chin wag. Like, I want to have that with our young people.
It's a sick idea.
So, the last Saturday, thank you, last Saturday of every month, from January to December, I want to do that. Now, I put the campaign out because I'm trying to raise money for it. So every child will get a book free. But the money will come from the campaign, from the crowdfund. I've put it out. Loads of people have said, fantastic, great. But the numbers are not showing on the fees. So I'm like, it's been shared by many people. Some people don't have the money, whatever. But again, what I was saying about the urgency. The urgency is, they're like, oh, okay, it's a great cause, but I'm not, I don't want to, like, on Facebook, I've got thousands of friends. If every single one of my friends on Facebook gave £1, I'll reach my target in like 20 minutes. Easily. Just give me £1. No, just £1. But they'd be hesitant to do that because we're reluctant to give to black causes because we just see it as, we don't even trust each other anyway. If you came out of a black bank, we're probably going to be less reluctant to go to yours because we're like, I know how black people stay. Like, if I put my money in your account, am I going to see it back? Am I going to, right? If you go bankrupt, are you going to say, oh, I ain't even got that, you know? You know, like that. You say, hey, French. Like, yeah, remember I put that $3,000 in your account? Yeah, listen, it's mad, you know? Hear what? All right, come check me next week. Bro, check it. Mate, you are a bank. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, I know that. But I've got a couple of branches that are still open, innit? But hear what? All right, flipping. You know about that? All right, flipping. Hear what? Come Canary Wharf where we've got the air. Come there. But then, come for about 4 o'clock comes. I'm there. And you're like, yeah, I'm coming down now. 1 second. And you come up, he said, you know what? Yeah, like, I ain't even got all of it, but wait, man, I'll drop you this change. Hold this for a minute. And then like, yeah, cool. Then I'll drop you the change afterwards, innit? Yeah? All right. What are you saying? Can you tick me? Do you get me? Like, that's what it'll be like for real. Like, especially if you've got a non-commercial name. Imagine your name, the bank was called Sankofa. They're going to be like,
hell no.
Right. Yeah. Barclays, yeah. Even though Barclays got the two brothers that got their money from slavery, or Lloyds, do you know what I mean? Got their money from slavery, or do you know what I mean? Now, yeah, I don't mind them because it's that white flight. It's like, do you know what? I love the fact that they look like they're safe, so I can get my money from them. So if it's black, I'm not too sure. Do you know what I mean? If it's a black charity, you stop someone on the road, they're like, oh, but where's my money going? Like, with white people, like, oh, do you know what? All right, let's save the planet. Let's go green. And, okay, take it. Not knowing that they're pocketing your money. So it starts with education because we have to educate ourselves on how we got here, why we're here, and how we get out. And that's through education. Then on top of that, we have to create a whole nationwide program where we always invest. Like, once a month, we have to invest in a youth program. Forget going to the government and trying to get them to give us a set. No, we've got enough money to do that. Do you know how much money black people spend on Christmas? Imagine that you live in a council estate, you live on the top floor, right? Cool. Then you work, say you're a single parent, you work like mad hours just so you can get enough money to buy presents for your children, right? Nearly bankrupt yourself. To then give them presents, they open it up like, yay, thank you. For you to then give credit to a fat white man that comes down the chimney every 25th, but your children don't even fathom the idea they don't even have a chimney.
I knew that from early.
Like, so the amount of money we spend on Christmas, we could just take that back and say, do you know what? All right, celebrate Kwanzaa. So I don't know, give them one little present, and then we just, do you know how much money the black church makes every week? So we are our own demons. If we want to put money into things, we can, but we just don't want to do it. Churches should be open up, say, all right, every black church should have a scheme where it's a youth program. I don't care what kind of church it is. I don't care if you're Pentecostal, Tabernacle, Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah. Every black church should have a program for the youth, or forget it. You shouldn't be rich in there. No way. No way. There should be a place for young people to talk about their issues and their problems. There should be a scheme in place to support young mums. There should be a scheme to put in place to older generation mums because they might be disconnected from the youth. There should be every church should have that. Go to any pastor and say, where did Jesus sleep? Did he have a house? They will tell you no. So okay then, all right. So let's start moving like Jesus. So start giving out and whatnot. Then free up your house. This is God's house. Okay, then. We'll start bringing people in. Do you know what I'm saying? How about that? And they say, do you know what? All right, let's collect the money that everybody's chipping in. Yeah? All right. They say, all right, this is God's house. Right? You stand there, pastor, all the time. So I'm guessing that's the holy place. Okay, if that's the holiest place in the church, I'm going to stand right there. I'm going to talk to God. I'm going to throw all the money in the air. I'm going to say to God, every single pound and note that you want, keep it. Whatever you don't want, throw it back down so we can give it back to the people. throw it up. Obviously, nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna come back down and say, okay, so God don't want it. This is the holiest place. This is where you like to push people and then say shalama halala and push them in the head and they want to roll over on the floor. This is the holiest place. I threw it up. God didn't want it. So I'm guessing I have to get back to the people. How about that? He'd be like, no, because I won't be able to buy my Rolls Royce and I won't be able to. Joking. Every black church should be doing that. So much money in it. So much. You see what happens with SPAC Nation. You see, there's so much money in it. Why aren't we not putting it? We're our own demons. We are. It's because of miseducation. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. So I'm on early intervention, starting them from young. That's why the Dole test was there to show internal racism starts when they're 4 years old. When they're watching Disney programs and they're seeing all these white Disney princesses finding their love, there's kings and queens and whatnot. They're seeing royalty. There's no African royalty in any Disney film, not one. So if you're from the West African part of West Africa and your family's kings and queens, but you're seeing tribes, but then you're watching a Disney film and there's no representation. It's like, well, there's castles. I want to be like that. The young girls are going to be like, I don't want to be connected to that because that looks like beauty. They've got their knight in shining armor. So what does my knight in shining armor look like? Okay, well, it doesn't look like my family because my family like this. Okay, cool. Then you get Tiana from Princess and the Frog. So she has to kiss a frog and all that madness. But then they brought in colorism, so they make sure Tiana was a certain brown. And then the guy who's bad, who practices voodoo, which is Haitian, well, it was a Haitian thing in the movie, he's also connected to darkness. So you've got light and darkness. So when the system gives you something to say, you know, we've got representation, they also give you something, oh, you got that? Here's a little undercurrent of something negative. So people that deal with voodoo are going to be like, hold on a minute, what's this about? And people that don't deal with voodoo will be like, oh, see, it's a bit negative. So they're going to keep pushing that narrative. We don't want to be anything else. So we have to get rid of, throw out the books. This is a prime example. We have to throw out all of these books and we have to start learning again from the beginning. Then we've got to practice black love. Like, we really have to practice black love. Date who you want to date. That's fine. But we need more representation because there were young black girls looking up and saying, do you know what, I don't believe in black love because I don't see enough. Like, do you know what I mean? They're seeing, okay, well, black men date outside their race more than anything else. Okay. So they're not going to feel confident within themselves.
One issue with that, though, I don't think that's entirely true because there is a lot of black couples, but they're just not highlighted enough.
All right. 40% of black women that get married are to black men. The other percent is to everybody else. Because imagine this as well. There's more black women than there are black men. But, and I agree with you, there is definitely, but you don't really see it. But on paper, the numbers are quite low. But what you don't see is, do you know what's mad? Is you see more black men dating out of their race than you see black women dating out of their race, yeah? But statistics show that more successful couples out of that interracial dating is when the black woman is dating a white man. I don't know why that is. Like, successful in terms of like their income for the household, in terms of their roles. It seems to be like more successful black women date outside as opposed to successful black men. It's a bit, I don't know. What do you think what reason is behind that? To throw you in the mix.
One of the things I'd say is with successful black women and going back to what we was talking about with the whole workplace and what you'll see in the workplace and how you behave and act and almost the mask that you wear. If you're a successful black woman and you've gone beyond the kind of old school glass ceiling, you're more likely you're kind of first of focus on the work environment. Your work environment is more likely to be surrounded by successful white men. And then throw that into the mix with, okay, that's what you spend the majority of your time at work. That's what you're now used to. You're now these kind of norms or kind of adopted norms in the workplace, what you mentioned earlier in terms of, you know, maybe the fake laugh or whatever. It's actually now spills over in that you're doing this more often than not. And all of a sudden you're now morphing into this person. Now add that to the fact that, okay, now on my way home or if I'm at an event or a dinner or whatever, I'm going to be more likely to be surrounded by these type of people, this clientele, because I've gone beyond that scene and now I'm surrounded, I'm in that kind of environment. That could be why. It's the type of people that you're kind of in and around. And unless like you're raised in an environment where there's a strong focus on dating within your race and knowing that everything external to this household you put on this mask, but actually deep down you know who you are, where you come from, so you still are committed to what's important to yourself, what was important to your upbringing. That's the only way that strongness and that bind will kind of make you think, okay, I know what this is when I go to work, I know what's around, but deep down I know what I represent, and deep down I know that out there for me is my black knight in shining armor as such, and I will meet him, and do you know what I mean? I won't kind of, not maybe succumbs the wrong word, but I won't kind of succumb to what's in my immediate environment, what I'm now used to, if that makes sense. That could be one way to look at it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, when it comes to, I guess, to kind of parrot what you're saying, when you are in that environment and all you see is other people that are of a different race and they're within the same tax bracket, so to speak, you're going to want to stay within that tax bracket. And if the dating pool doesn't really have, I mean, your male counterpart, then you're going to go with your counterpart that's within the same tax bracket. So therefore, it's a lot easier for them just to be kind of like, okay, well, as Mace pointed out, we're in the same circles, we're having the same conversations, we talk about the same struggles in terms of where we are financially, so why not form a unison? You know what I mean?
So very good. I literally don't have an answer for it. I don't know. I can't even speak for black women because I'm not one. So like, go easy on me in the comments, yeah? I'm just saying, just what I've noticed. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you know what I mean? But practicing black love because of the young, like, when I've got a year 10/year 11 student, do you know what I mean, who talks about she used to bleach her skin because she didn't think she was beautiful. This is year 10, and she used to bleach. What? Like, what are you doing? And she's got like a couple of marks on her arms or where she, like, and she talks about, do you know what I mean, representation, and she talks about like black men. She'll like put on a grime video and another grime video and another one and a drill video and another one, and she's not seeing herself as a dark-skinned black girl. I can't say to her, I can only just say I'm sorry. Like, I can't. So her story is that there's not enough black love in there. So we can't like denounce her reality because that's her reality. Even though it's true because it's been going on for many years, but they're starting to notice it at a younger age. It's like what are we actually doing? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think what was the rapper? Tory Lanez. I remember he was doing a music video, and there was I think it was like there was a dancing girl dancing in the video, like, and I think the director like kind of told the dancing girl to move out of the way, and the I think she was like she's like a Latina girl. Yeah. Do you?
No, but I knew what was gonna come.
Okay, cool. So she comes in, she did her little thing, and Tori's like, no, bring her back, and everybody was like, whoa, yes, Tori, like, well done for doing that. And then people were just giving her a speed like, oh, the director decides on who, whatever. But yeah, like we've got to protect our young girls, man. We really do, because they are like feeling. I mean, like, there's a video I got sent, but I saw it went viral before it was actually sent to my WhatsApp, because you know, like, you got like I got like 10 different WhatsApp groups. Like, I don't know if you're like you, like, got
a couple still.
Yeah, exactly. So I got the knowledge one where they just talk about all that stuff, and there's a video of a woman who's in a bath, and she's got like a bleaching cream on her leg, and she's in the bath. She's like bent over that way, and the woman who's talking about, she's like basically promoting the product, so she's there scraping off her dark skin in the bath, like, it's calm, and she's like, yeah, and it works quite efficient, and I'm like, yo,
that's real.
Like, it's like, I showed it to you lot off air. I was just like, whoa, like, yo, like, she's calm. I'm thinking, it's so it's
scary, man.
It's to see it like that. I'm just like, no, and the skin's just getting lighter and lighter. I'm like, this is crazy. It's just like, oh man, come on, man. Like, yeah. So we've got so much unpacking to do. You know what I mean? Like, colorism is just. I mean, we've got Black British Caribbean, Black British African here, just 2 categories. In Brazil, they got 147.
Jeez.
Light brown, dark brown, sand, oak. The closer you get to the Portuguese European standards, is 147 characteristics.
There's a story with that as well, because when I visited Brazil a few years ago, I already knew this because I'd kind of I'd heard that the dark you are, you're seen as poorer, you're seen as you know, not up to the stand and all the rest of it. And I remember I'm a tourist. Remember, I'm in Brazil. This is during the Carnival.
Okay.
So I've gone over there for Carnival, and what was crazy because beforehand, the stigma that we're hit with, like being Europeans or being being from London even or from the UK about South America is be careful, it's rough, it's dangerous, it's this, it's that, yeah. Sure. So you having your wits about you, yeah. So I remember we was walking down the road and two things struck me. The first thing was we went out. So there's an area during the Carnival kind of period. There's an area a lot of people congregate. It's called Lapa, in Rio. So I was in Rio, yeah. And there was a guy. He must have been. I'm gonna assume he was like an Aussie guy or something like that. He had an accent, but like a white guy, a Caucasian guy. And he basically came up to me and he assumed I was Brazilian. And the next thing he said, and what he said to me was, "Any drugs?" And I'm just like, yo, I'm here, I'm a tourist as well, bro. And the other thing was, I had Brazilian people coming up to me and speaking to me in Portuguese, just assuming.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was strange because, and at that moment, I know it's weird, but I felt a bit safer there because I realized, well, the Brazilians think I'm Brazilian, so they're not going to kind of look at me and
Tourists and
try and whatever. And then like, but at the same time, the other tourists there just are assuming that I must be Brazilian, so that because I'm not dark, but because I'm black, I must be just here to sell drugs, and I must be poor, and I must be that type of guy, which was weird. It was really really weird, but it just comes back to stereotypes, doesn't it?
Like when you go into Europe, you go like Spain, like Malaga.
Oh, Spain's terrible, man.
And then you go to the beach.
Yeah,
How many times I've seen...
They think you're all going to be selling watches and hats and umbrellas and all that. Yeah, it's mad still.
Like, I remember...
It's mad.
I remember I went to Malaga. No, not Malaga. Costa del... Was it Malaga? Mallorca. I went to Mallorca.
Yeah.
And I was getting a massage from the Senegalese woman on the beach. And I remember... I couldn't believe what I heard. This woman told me, you know, can you take my child?
As in, come back to the UK with your child?
I was like, what? She was like, yeah, like, take her. I was thinking, what? What do you mean? I was like, no, I can't take your child. Like, She was offering her child to say, take her with you. What? This was like, probably about 5 years ago. About 4 years ago. Like, what? I was like, no, what do you need? Like, she just needed money and whatnot, but I totally, now that you said that, like, it just triggered that. I've actually even told anyone that. Yeah, like, she offered her child. It's crazy. Like, that breaks my heart to know that how you got there, I don't even want to know. But the fact that you're in a situation where you're saying to this random black person, take my child and go live back in the UK, and this is happening and there's some people who probably try and violate, do you know what I mean? Yeah, do you know, come back to our villa and, do you know what I mean, and do all kinds of madness to black women or do you know what I mean, or anyone. Like, you don't have to be black for that, but man. Like, do you know what I mean, and just prey on the vulnerable. And it's, I mean, human trafficking, and obviously you see slavery that happens in like the cusp of like Yemen and like, it's you know what I mean, Libya, you see what happens there as well. We're in a time of turmoil, man. Time of turmoil. And I can only just, I wouldn't even say hope and pray, because we've been praying long enough. Do you know what I mean? Martin Luther King prayed and they killed him. So I just hope that what I do in terms of a young people, I just give someone that picks up that bit of information, says, I'm going to run with it, and they just create a madness. That's the only thing. As long as I can change one person's mind and they go and do a madness, then that's my job done. Just keep creating, that's it. But to your point, definitely education, and we have to have a goal. Do you know what I mean? You can go Poland, you can go Latvia, you can go Croatia, they have their differences, but they know they're white. That comes first. Forget anything else. It's like, we know what we're, okay. We've got to put our differences aside, have that core goal, and then we just deal with things afterwards. And stop telling everybody our secrets. Stop putting Facebook. All right, we're gonna meet up. Yeah, make sure we're by the town hall at 8 o'clock. We're gonna rise against the system. Yeah, make sure you bring, your placards, bring everything else, yeah. Make sure you're wearing black as well, yeah. All right, cool. So we can identify who's... And make sure you're wearing them bandanas as well, yeah. All right, cool. Brilliant. 8 o'clock come. Do you know what I dislike about marches? Like, they're organised. Because the police block off the roads, so you have to get permission.
Yeah.
It's like, so I have to ask you, may I walk the street talking about how annoying I am within this space? I can? Thank you. Because I don't like you, but I'm asking you. Okay, thank you very much. And then you walk and it's like, all right, time to pack it up because we've got to get traffic flowing in time for a rush.
It's not taking
What kind of joke thing is that? There's only 3 things that the oppressors care about. The loss of life, the loss of money, or the loss of property and land. If you can affect one of those 3 things, they will listen to you.
That's good points, man.
What revolution do you know that hasn't been bloodshed?
No, there's always has to be bloodshed.
We've had this conversation.
Yeah. Someone has to get... I don't think a lot of us are ready for it to kick off like that. But we had to. When the Windrush came over, the Windrush generation came over, they was fighting the Teddy Boys up in Nottingham. Yeah. It was on site. Imagine you're a young woman and you got a baby, you just finished your work in St Thomas Hospital and you're trying to get home and you've got to take a different road because someone's going to hit you and your baby over the head. Do you know how many people died just from racist violence here that we still don't even talk about? Like, black people died off the hands of racist white people during the 50s. No one. Who's writing it? Who's writing this stuff? Who's telling young people? Yeah, it used to be peak. I know we look at America. We got the dogs. They've been hosed down. There's been rockers. There's been fights here. Even in the 60s, there was fights. There was race riots here. No one talks about it.
Well, the thing is, back then, I think we was more of a unity. We had more community then. Like, whereas now there is none, and that's the problem. And that's why I was asking the question: what do we do now? Like, what is the answer? Because not to say I'm tired of having these conversations, because I think it's really enlightening, and I genuinely feel like I've learned a lot just from you talking today. But what tends to happen is we'll have this conversation, then people will listen, people may have an additional conversation, but where's the conversation going? Like, we need to lead to more than just conversation. Like, we need to have action. And I know education is something that always gets thrown up. It's like education is the key, but education is the key to what door? Do you know what I mean?
True. Facts.
So what door are we walking through? Because at the moment, we don't have no leaders. We don't have any particular person to say, okay, cool, we're going to... Like, once upon a time, Marcus Garvey was a leader of ours, and he had the idea of going back to Africa, the Pan-African idea and everything of that nature. That fell through, and whatever, that got destroyed. But there's never been anything else since. Or there's been sprouts here and there, but nothing's come to fruition. So obviously I don't have the answer at the moment. I don't know. Maybe through these conversations, an idea will be sparked. But I just feel like until we've got as you said, a goal to walk through these doors that we're having all this education for and all the conversations, it's going to be a constant falling on our face. Like, we're just constantly getting up, falling on our face, having a conversation about it, analysing it, saying, all right, cool, well, we did this and we did that, and that was good and that was bad. What are we actually doing, as you said? Until we start, not to say tearing down houses, but like really affecting change, nothing's going to really happen, do you know what I mean? So I'm just in this mindset of, all right, cool, we're having great conversation, but what are we going to do?
And again, everything you said is facts. I've had this issue like with so many people. I'm just like, we talk, but we're just scared. I'm tired of we're just scared. A lot of us don't want to upset our white friends by saying, you know what, I'm proud to be black. I really love being black. They don't want to say it because it's like, it's seen as anti-white. So your blackness is seen as anti anything else. That's because it's not. But you've been told that if you do not celebrate your Britishness, then you are considered like you're being racist, or you're being like, oh, you don't want to be associated with something. So a lot of us are so indoctrinated that even the thought of unifying and starting a revolution just scares, because we're so considerate, and we always, in Jamaican terms, it's called licky-licky, innit? When you're too busy, you just want to beat up someone's ass. So because we're too licky-licky, we don't want to disconnect from our oppressors. So the idea of even starting a revolution says, you know what, I'm willing to just lose my job for this. It's like, ooh, but what would Stephen think? Like, what would Billy think? Like, I like Margaret. She's nice. She's all right. She's cool. Like, we're still thinking about other people. That's the reason why there's, just because we're like, okay, start revolutionary. We should do this. Great. God, I gotta go work tomorrow. And we feel bad. W.E.D. Du Bois talks about double consciousness, where you're living in a space where you know it's wrong. You have the other side of you that's like, yeah, Pan-African, yeah, I'm black. But then you got to balance the two sides. And it can just really frig up your head where it's like, oh, 1 minute it's like, I'm proud to be whoever. And the other part's like, ooh. And my thing is, we're done out here. It's the next generation where we have to say, you know, this is where we failed. But we have to hold our hands up and say it's accountability and say, you know what, we flopped. Like, we could have done this better. Like, we don't own anything. We don't control anything. We don't have any power. We don't even... How many conservatives are there? How many people that follow Labour? How many Green Party people? We're so divided. If we came together as one block, it's 2 million people and said, all right, here, politician, if you follow our manifesto, you are guaranteed 2 million votes. Every politician will be on it. UKIP will be like, do you know what? We don't really like that.
No, it's real shit though.
Right?
That's real talk.
Right?
Yeah.
They'll be like, do you know what? We don't really like them.
But they got 2 million votes over there still, you know what I mean?
Right.
Let's get it in.
That's it. Do you know what? Jerk chicken's not even that spicy anyway.
I like Gunga Peas. I like Gunga Peas.
Do you see what I'm saying? They'll be like, do you know what? Do you know what? Winston's not that bad anyway. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what? Let's get her to. They would be on it, but we don't come as a block. When you look at certain in America, mafia don't go out there and vote like that. Listen, we've got money. You want 10 mil? We got 10 mil, but we make sure we're covered. They just got money. Just go out there voting for what? Because they know money talks. So money or massive votes, but they're not going to go out there and vote. They'll just buy the politician because they need the money for their campaign. So they'll just stop. But we're not going to do that. So one massive block. But we're not going to, because there's so many divisions. Oh, go out and vote and go out. Like, it's we've got so much unpacking to do, but it starts with the young people. I say this and say this and say this again. Get them to do it. We flopped. Say, do you know what? This is what, hey, we don't own and control something, but we're going to give you the tools and how you can do it. We didn't do it because we messed up. We're too busy flopping and arguing and beefing over stupidness. We was too busy worrying about trying to be Americanized and follow their culture and their history and their knowledge and their dress sense and their way of life. We also weren't even thinking about protecting our mums. We was too busy telling each other to suck each other's mum and whatnot. We weren't even trying to get back, you know what, your mum is the queen of the house. Let her run things. She's amazing. Boom, let's protect her. We didn't do this. We didn't do ownership. We didn't control. We didn't do publishing. We didn't do anything like that. Now, I've done it and I flopped, but now I know how to do it. I'm going to give you the tools. So here what? When you go into this meeting, make sure you know that you say this and you demand that. You do royalties, yeah, you get that, but you own and control everything that you produce. Everything. That's you. That's yours. Don't let no one take that from you. Or you go somewhere else and someone will give you your worth. We've got to give it to them. We've got all this. It's just books. So we're in the information age now. You can just Google some of these PDFs. Like, there's no excuse not to read. Reading is fundamental. So let's just give it to them. We're done out here. We're done. Like, we're done. Let's just forget. We're done out here.
It's one of Pocker's, who's not here today, favourite terms. We're done out here. I'm conscious of time because we could be here all night.
Ended up on a great line of like reading. I think that's the key. Like, education is definitely the key, but we need to find the door to open it up with.
This is the right then. Do you know what I mean? The knowledge is power, but it's what you do with the knowledge is the power, innit?
Exactly.
I know you normally have three.
Yeah, we finish off with 3 questions. I'm gonna ask them to you. No pressure. No pressure at all.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one is what 3 values do you bring to your business or place of work?
Love of self. Love of family. And I would say third value would be, when I say family, I mean like your immediate family.
Friends, family.
Yeah. And I think the third value is the love of knowledge. I feel like you actually, not just knowledge of self, but just the stuff around you, just knowing how amazing things are. Like, that's a value, because everything works within the 12 universal laws. So you have to appreciate everything around you, because without the worm wouldn't be able to weave the seeds into the ground. Do you know what I mean? Without the dung beetle that rolls up cow dung or whatever, you wouldn't be able to get certain things right. So appreciating life around you, understanding how great your family are, and just love you as an individual, because you are the 1 out of 10 million that made it to the egg. So you are great.
Good point.
Good. Second one is, what 3 realistic wishes would you have? If you had three realistic wishes, what would they be?
3 realistic wishes. 1, I wish my mother's health was better. 2, I wish Europeans would leave Africa alone. And the 3rd one, I wish our young people would be safe on the roads.
Cool. Like that.
Very relevant, man.
The last one being, what 3 books could you not live without?
Ooh. 3 books. Okay. Marcus Garvey, Message to the People. The biography of Malcolm X. And the 3rd book I can't...
Make it a European one. Not joking.
A European... The Bible. 3rd book would probably be... Okay. It will probably be any music book about blues and jazz. So like a biography of like John Coltrane or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, a music book. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, man.
Wicked.
Yeah,
can you just let the people know, our listeners, viewers, subscribers, where they can reach you, social platforms and all the rest of it?
Okay, cool. People, you can reach me on Instagram, Darrel Blake. So it's DARREL.Blake. Twitter is Darrel Blake again, but it's Darrel, DARREL __ Blake. And also my company, which is called Black Rooted. If you type Black Rooted into Instagram, it will come up, because there's not many Black Rooteds. And Twitter, it will come up as well, because there's not many Black Rooteds. And Facebook, it will come up as well. You'll see it. It's got like something 1,000 followers, so it will come up. It's got a Africa logo. Africa's the continent as a logo, and it's got like patches of different colours. So you can find what I'm doing through Black Rooted as an organisation, where I teach, where I do lectures, presentations, workshops, events, so on and so forth. So I have myself as a single entity, then the company Black Rooted, which I'm trying to like build my team at the moment, and trying to make it grow, which the program, the Young Readers, Future Leaders, is going to be via Black Rooted. So,
That's dope. Cool. That's
Thank
dope,
you,
man.
man.
No, definitely. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
man.
I know we went over time with that. Like,
Nah,
that's
it's
cool, man.
fine, man.
Yeah.
We had to send the next guest home. But it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave comments on all our various social platforms, and stay tuned for what's coming next. We'll probably put this out in 2 parts, I'd say.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
So look out for both
quite
parts of
long,
this.
yeah.
But thanks again for coming.
No, thank you. I appreciate
we'll
it,
definitely have you on the platform again. And feel free to come along and spread more knowledge, bro.
Yeah, but mate, there's a saying that I live by: the teacher arrives when the student's ready.
Definitely students here, man.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm students as well, man. I'm part of students as well. Like I learn from others, you know what I mean? On the smaller front, I mean, the Brazil thing, I didn't. It's like, wow, crazy. So yeah, I'm always learning, you know what I mean? So yeah, big up, man. Thank you so much for having me. This is, I mean, this is
nice one. Thank you, man.